Dr. Henry Tai is suing his ex-wife, Kimberly Tran, for attorney fees and for slandering him within the medical community.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Hello. Hey. Trying to do a case. Yeah, this is case number 360 on the calendar in the matter of Tai versus Tran. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Dr. Tai, you are a physician?
Yes.
What is your specialty, sir?
Pathology.
The defendant is your former wife.
Correct.
And you have one child.
Correct.
How long were you married?
Less than 2 years.
When were you married?
July 3rd, 1998.
It is your claim, sir, that subsequent to the divorce, there were proceedings revolving around the custody and or visitation of your child, your son. And during the course of those proceedings, your former wife made defamatory statements about you to professionals who were evaluating the case for the court.
Correct.
And you were embarrassed.
Yes.
The statements you allege were not true.
Yes.
You published them to these other people, and you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
Ms. Tran says that A, the statements were true, and B, she didn't think they were privileged. First of all, she thought they were privileged and they would never be used and nobody would ever find out about them. Is that right, Ms. Tran?
What I say to my son's pediatrician, my ex-husband here, he's very abusive. That's why I left him.
Listen to me. You say two things in your answer, Ms. Tran. You said, in October 2005, the court-appointed psychologist interviewed your son's pediatrician. I did say those things to the pediatrician because they were true, but I did not intentionally set out to harm Henry. I thought doctor-patient conversations were privileged. I did not think what I said to the pediatrician and what she included in the file would have any bearing on the psychologist's final findings. Can I see the report that you're complaining about? Yes.
Your Honor.
What?
I have some police report.
I don't want to see the police report yet. Okay. What it says here is, Mom reports something abuse by the father towards herself.
History of abuse.
Shh. Alcoholism and several instances of harsh behavior towards Kyle where he, quote, dropped him one time. On April 29th, 2000 and 5/19/2000, there was an argument with the mom, comma, drinking, wanted to bathe Kyle, had physical fight with mom, and the doctor notes that there was an underlying separation and custody fight. Now, can I see the police report, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I also...
Just let me see the police report.
This is different occasions.
I don't want to see a different occasion. I want to see 4/29/2000 and 5/19/2000.
It's dated 5/10, but it's about 4/29.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I have one with him, and I have two total.
Some of the findings in there, doctor, are troublesome.
I'm not familiar with that report. I have never seen it before.
You remember going to a wedding sometime in April of 2000?
Yes.
You remember drinking at that wedding?
Yes, she was.
I'm talking to you. Do you remember drinking too much at that wedding?
No.
How come you remember that wedding so clearly, sir?
Because she was supposed to be the designated driver. In the middle of the wedding.
Yes.
She insulted me. She got up.
Shh. Just a second. How did she insult you, sir?
She called me an alcoholic in front of everybody.
Yes.
And she said I was embarrassing her.
What were you doing, sir?
I was dining and whining.
And she embarrassed you by calling you an alcoholic?
Yes.
In front of other people?
Yes.
Would it be a fair statement, sir, that she called you an alcoholic because she believed you were drinking too much?
Your Honor, it's a wedding. She is supposed to...
That's not my question to you, sir.
I believe she said that to insult me, to insult me.
Absolutely not. People don't do that at weddings. Wife doesn't do that at a wedding unless she's very frustrated, sir.
Your Honor, she was coached by her lawyer so that she can report. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And your drinking had nothing to do with that. You just told me you were whining and dining.
Just like everybody else at the table.
Listen to me. If there is one iota of truth in the fact that she believed that you, at some point in your life, drank too much, she can tell that to the child's pediatrician. She can tell that to the child's psychologist. And if you tell me that she was supposed to be the designated driver that evening, then there is some indication that you planned on drinking so much that you couldn't drive home. Now, you want to tell me what happened at the wedding?
Yes, Your Honor. He drank heavily with that 1 liter. He told
me... With
the
the one what?
1 liter of alcohol.
Liter.
The 1 liter. He wants me to approach one of this girl, young girl, long hair, ask for her phone number. And I say no. And he called me for not listening to him. So I say, you drink too much. So he said, I'm gonna hit you, you F, when I get home. Sure enough, I left, went to the restroom, came back, he was gone. And I asked one of these couple who sat at the same table, asked them to take me home. And that's when it happened, while I was changing my son's diaper. And
when you got home, he was home already?
He was home already, and my son was at my brother's house.
Did you leave the wedding without her?
Your Honor, she got up.
Just answer my question. Did you leave the wedding without her?
I went to the bathroom to look for her, and I can't find her.
Did you leave the wedding without her?
Then, yes.
And did you drive home?
I drove to her brother's house.
Had you driven to the wedding together?
Yes.
Does she drive?
No.
Well, you just told me she was the designated driver, sir. How could she be the designated driver if she doesn't drive?
She got up and left the table.
You're not answering my question, sir. You think you're going to bully me?
Her.
That's not going to happen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She says that you hit her.
I did not hit her.
I don't believe it. I believe that you are a controlling person and that you drank too much.
And later today,
she kind of turned into my mama. She's like, he can't come over to the house anymore. My best friend, Deshawn, she didn't want him coming over to the house anymore. And if I did bring them over, she would call the police.
Dr. Henry Tai claims ex-wife Kimberly Tran slandered him within the medical community. Kimberly says Henry is violent and has a drinking problem.
You told me she was the designated driver, which means your wife drives. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you left, whether you were drinking or not, for the purpose of this question, is not relevant. You got into your car.
Yes.
Was your car valet parked or had you parked it yourself?
I parked myself.
So you had the keys?
Yes.
So you took the keys and left her at the wedding. The answer is either, yes, I took the keys and left her at the wedding and drove home in the only car we came with, or no, I didn't. Did you take the car, keys, and drive yourself to her brother's house?
Yes, because I couldn't find her.
You didn't look hard enough. The question of whether or not any of the things that she said to the child's pediatrician and which found their way into the court records are actionable or not is questionable at best. The issue that is presented is if she said something totally maliciously that had no basis in fact and totally designed to malign your reputation, her statements might be construed to be actionable. But if there is one scintilla of truth in what she said, you have no cause of action, sir.
No.
One. And you drank that night, and you left her at the wedding, and she got somebody else to take her to her brother's house, who I assume was babysitting for the baby. It was there that you had an argument. She says that you hit her.
I did not hit her.
I don't believe it. I believe that you are a controlling person and that she had it up to here with you. I don't know what the custodial arrangement now is with the child, but you don't have a cause of action against her, sir, because at that wedding, you drank too much.
Your Honor.
And she didn't make up that story when she said to me you asked her to go and get a young girl's phone number. She didn't make up that story. No, no.
Your Honor.
No, no, no. She could have said a lot of things. That's not something that somebody routinely makes up. And I tell you, quite frankly, when I read your complaint, doctor, I was prepared really to give it to her if she was not telling any sort of truthful commentary to other doctors, and that may have served to embarrass you. And I don't know if you have a drinking problem, but certainly in April of the year 2000, you drank too much.
Your Honor.
What?
After that incident, she moved back to my apartment at UCLA and filed the complaint on the May 20th.
So?
May 20th is the weekend, right before she had to go back to work after her maternity leave, after I supported her for 6 months.
What's wrong with you supporting her for 6 months? She's your wife. What's wrong with you supporting her?
Your Honor, why when she called 911 earlier until the weekend, right before she had to leave and move back to Orange County to work?
John, listen to me. Don't ask me any questions, sir. I asked you about a specific date, April 29th, 2000. And based upon what you testified to, there was grounds for her to tell the child's pediatrician during the course of an examination that you drank too much at this wedding. And if she called you an alcoholic and embarrassed you, which is what you're complaining about, she called you an alcoholic. That's what you were complaining about.
Your Honor,
Embarrassed you at the wedding.
I wasn't drunk.
People who drink too much rarely think that they drink too much, sir. How old are you?
38.
Okay. So in 2000, you were still in your 30s, and you were a physician. As far as I'm concerned, a physician who goes to a wedding with his wife shouldn't have to select a designated driver. Should have enough presence to be able to go to the wedding and say, I drove my wife to the wedding and I can drive my wife home. And if you planned in advance to drink so much that you couldn't get, which is good, I'm glad you selected a designated driver. But then you drank too much, you drove home anyway. You don't have a case, sir. Get over it. Go lick your wounds someplace else.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He got angry because he lost the child custody case.
She basically stole the child custody away from me.
I'm the victim, and I need to fight, especially for my son.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Scott, step forward, please.
Christine Anderson is suing her older sister, Jennifer Scott, for $5,000 in unpaid loans. Jennifer claims the money was part investment and part gift.
Miss Anderson, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Older or younger?
Oldest.
According to your complaint, you made 2 loans to her. One to help her cover her mortgage when she was starting a new business. She fell behind in her bills. And the other when she needed some money so that she could continue her business. You want your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister says, while she does acknowledge that you paid her mortgage twice, she said you did so as a gift to her. There was never any expectation of being repaid. And with regard to the second amount of money that you gave to her, it was a business investment. And because of her own negligence, all of her product got stolen, so you lost your investment. That be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You married lady?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
2.
What does your husband do for a living?
He works for the city.
What about you?
I'm a daycare owner.
You own your own home?
Mm-hmm.
Have a mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
How big?
It's not compared to what they have here. It's about $120,000.
It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you earn a year? About
$60,000.
And your husband?
About 45.
Got a lot of savings?
Not really.
Have a car?
Mm-hmm. Payment.
What kind of car?
2005 Tahoe.
And what about your husband?
He has a 2002 F-150. Payments on it.
How old are your children?
7 and 4.
And you? Married?
Yes, ma'am.
Husband?
Yes.
How long are you married?
4 years.
Have children?
Yes.
How old?
17, 9, and 2 2-year-olds and 1 on the way.
What does your husband do for a living?
He's a barber.
What do you do for a living?
We own a business together.
What kind of business?
Hair business.
What kind of hair business?
He cuts hair. It's a shop.
Is this your husband?
Yes.
So you work in the shop with him?
No, ma'am. I stay home. My name's just on the business.
So you have a 17-year-old, a 9-year-old, twin to a 2, and you're expecting another child.
Correct. Well,
A lot of children for somebody that can't afford to keep up their bills.
yes, ma'am.
Lot. Okay. Tell me about the first amount of money that you gave to your sister.
The first one I did was about the 20th of the month of June last year, and she hadn't paid her mortgage yet. She couldn't afford to pay it, so I offered to help her. I'm
Tell
going
me
to
how
need
that came about.
Well, we talked on the phone a lot. We were close at one point, and she just said basically that things had gone downhill. The shop wasn't making as much money at the time, and she fell behind on her mortgage. And it was already the 20th month. She didn't know what she was going to do. So I said, well, I can help you, but how fast do you think you could pay it back? She said, within a couple months, no problem. At the time, she was going to New York and buying handbags, and she'd bring them back to her shop and sell them for much higher markup. And according to my dad, who is a retired chief of police, she was doing really well because he lives up in Michigan with her too. So I had no reason to doubt it. So I went ahead and I phone paid her mortgage for her, and I have that.
Can I see it, please?
Yep. And when I had paid it, I called her back and I said, it's highlighted. I said I went ahead and...
You want to stand up with your wife, please?
I went ahead and I paid, the mortgage. She said, well, Chris, it is the 20 whatever of the month. That was for this month. And I said, so you need another month? And she said, yeah. And I said, let me see what I can do, And so I went through all my bills and stuff, and I said, well, I'll go ahead and I'll write you a check and I'll send it. I have that.
Can I see it, please? She doesn't deny it, that you gave her that money. She said, I got it.
You can see that I don't have that kind of gift.
I got it. No, I got it.
Okay, so okay, sorry.
So let me hear.
Well,
what months was this that you fell short? June of 2005?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Scott, you were living in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in a house where your sister-in-law paid the mortgage?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of responsibility do you feel as the man of the house, as the head of the household, to pay her back?
As far as I knew, it was she just gave us the money.
She was helping us
That's
out.
not what I asked, madam. I asked him, he's living in a house with his children and his wife and his sister-in-law, who's a working woman with a working husband, just like you are. I mean, the fact that you made all these children, she doesn't have to suffer for that. She's got 2 children. You've got a whole gaggle of children. So why don't you think that you have a responsibility, Mr. Scott, to pay back this money?
Because she never expressed it in that way.
I'm not asking you whether you believe that there was a loan. I'm asking you, Mr. Scott, why it is that you don't believe you have, irrespective of what I decide today, the moral obligation to say, I'm not going to be supported by my sister-in-law. That's ridiculous. She doesn't have any obligation to support me. She's a struggling lady, just like we are. She's got house payments, she's got car payments, she's got everything else. I fell off a little bit. It may take me a little time. I'll send you $50 here and $100 there in order to get it paid up. That's what I'm asking you, sir, instead of buying those great shoes. You get my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
You got enough time to make another baby, sir. You got enough time to get another job. Sit down. You owe your sister the mortgage money. Outrageous. Now, after you gave her the mortgage money, let's get to the other stupidity. After you gave her the mortgage money that she didn't pay back, let me hear the rest.
After that, it was a few weeks later, she called and she said, just business isn't picking up. I don't have the money to go to New York again. It cost me at least $700 to make the trip. She was going like every couple weeks to New York to get these things. She should have just saved the money and made one gigantic trip, but she didn't. Anyway, she needed money to get up there to make money to pay me back. And
so it was insurance?
Yes. My husband was really already upset about it. So this was the best way possible I knew to help her, help herself, and help get the money back for us.
So you gave her another what?
First it was $1,000, and then 3 days later it was $2,000 more, which I have bank transfers here. These are not gifts. This is...
Okay.
Then she came down in November, and I brought my mom with me today as my witness to this. She came down for Thanksgiving, I think it was, and everything was fine for the couple days, and then all of a sudden we ended up getting into it over the money. My husband and I we couldn't handle it no more. We needed the money back. And she ended up writing me a check for $600 because it was total, if you total all this up, it was $5,700. She wrote me a check for $655. I deposited into the bank. She ended up leaving and didn't even say goodbye to my mom. She was just so upset or whatever. She felt like I was being horrible about the whole situation, that I wanted the money back. When this was from the jump, this was not an investment. This was a loan. This was trying to help her help herself. And
let's go. I'm ready to hear you.
It was an investment.
Let me hear.
She gave me the money as an investment. She was helping me out. I was supposed to pay her back the money from that money. From the $3,000, I was supposed to pay back, what I owed her from that money. Well, what happened...
Listen to me. There's something else going on with your sister. I'm telling you.
Like what?
I'm not going there. I'm telling you, there's something else going on with your sister.
Well, go there, because, you're insinuating. What are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating, madam, that...
What are you insinuating?
I want to see the police report where you say you brought a woman into your house who ended up stealing your car and all the product that you... I'm speaking.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
I'm speaking. It ended up stealing your car and all the products that you had purchased, and that's why you couldn't pay her back. So that was...
We made a couple trips. I already requested the police report. It didn't get here in time. But we had made a couple trips during that time with that $3,000, and I got caught up on my bills with that money. And then we made one big trip, and when we came back, I was helping somebody out, that was in our home. When we came back from New York,
who were you helping out that was in your home?
It was a friend of ours. Well, she was,
Something else is going on. I don't have to get into
Whatever.
it now. It's totally irrelevant, really, to this, but your money was going maybe to pocketbooks.
What I was told about the whole car theft situation was this lady, she let her friend use her car. Her friend never came back.
Listen to me.
And
That's
all
not
of
what
the
happened.
merchandise-
That's not
Listen
even
to
what
me.
happened. She's lying.
Listen to me.
She's lying. We
Listen
came
to
back
me.
from New
Listen to me.
We came back
It's
from New
not
York.
relevant, particularly relevant. I'm just telling you something else is going on. Anyway, your sister owes you the money. The fact that she decided not to pay you after she took the money from you is unfortunate. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Why you guys squeezed? You may step out.
You know what? We needed the money back.
Well, no, her husband needed the money.
And then it just kind of got two sisters arguing over who was right and who was wrong.
So I know it's not really about the money.
And I think that's pretty much it.
It was just about everything else that went with it.
I want to have it finished. I want to have my sister back.
You know, I just want my sister back.
24-year-old Jenny Lee Thompson is suing her former roommate, 27-year-old Michelle Stubblefield, for rent, bills, and the unpaid portion of their security deposit.
All rise. Now, it's case number 403 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Stubblefield. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Thompson, you and the defendant were roommates for a short period of time.
Yes.
And it didn't work out.
Correct.
The defendant left. You claim that she owes you some money for a deposit on the apartment, for some rent and utility bills. Ms. Stubblefield says she owes you nothing. She's counterclaiming. She said you had no right to kick her out of the apartment, and she has no intention of paying you for an apartment that you didn't live in. You knew each other before you moved in together, I assume?
Yes.
For how long?
We knew each other previously. We lost contact for about 2 years. We met again in March of 2006.
And you moved into an apartment together on a month-to-month tenancy, am I correct?
Yes.
You didn't sign a lease?
No.
So there was nothing that precluded either one of you from moving out?
Correct.
Is that right?
Right.
When did you move in?
I think at the beginning of September.
And what was the rent on the apartment, Miss Stubblefield?
I believe it was $695.
What do you mean you believe it was $695?
I never received a rental agreement.
Well, there was no rental agreement, madam. There was a month-to-month tenancy. There was nothing in writing, I assume.
We do have a copy of the rental agreement.
Oh, fine. Monthly rent was $625, and you were splitting that in half?
Yes.
Okay. Did you pay your September rent?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When did you move out?
It was October 12th.
Is that right?
No, it's not.
When was it?
October 26th.
What makes you think it was the 12th of October?
Because
Miss
it was
Stubble-
2 days after my paycheck on the 10th.
Well, let's say, for argument's sake, it was October the 12th, okay? Your rent was due 2 weeks before that. Did you pay October's rent?
I paid part of it
When?
on the 25th of September.
What did you pay?
$250.
Show me.
She never gave me receipts.
Did you ask for one?
No, I did not.
Did she give you any rent towards October?
She gave me partial rent
When?
on September 25th.
What'd she give you?
Let me just take a look here. I believe it was $320 that she gave me that day.
She said she gave you $250.
No, she did not.
So she gave you more.
Yes.
Her share of the rent was $312. So she had paid her October's rent.
Well, no, we had actually agreed that she was going to be splitting not only the rent, but the deposits as well. And because she did not have that money up front, I went ahead and paid for those deposits.
I see.
And she was paying me back, so she did not pay for her rent.
Okay, and what was the deposit?
The deposit was a total of $1162, I believe.
You didn't pay the deposit, is that correct?
No, but I did pay her back. I paid a total of $500 to her
For what?
for the deposits and for my part of the rent.
So far, you said you paid rent in September.
Yes.
What did you give her for September's rent?
I gave her the 300 and something, I guess.
$312. And how much did you pay her towards the deposit in September?
I did not receive another paycheck until the 10th.
That's not what I asked you. I'm not asking you about your hardship. I'm asking you how much money you paid her towards the deposit.
None.
No. So that the $320 that you gave her on September 25th was for what?
For the rent and part of the deposit. That's what I thought it was for.
I don't care what you thought it was for.
She has actually paid me more money than she believes she paid me, Your Honor.
Perfect. How much did she pay you?
She paid me a total of $760 during the time that we lived together.
She sounds like an honest lady. Now, you want to tell me why you moved out.
When I first got in contact with her again, I was living with my baby's father, and it was not working out, so I asked him to see if I can come stay with her
in her one-bedroom apartment with my son part-time, and she said...
What do you mean with your son part-time?
Well, I had him part-time.
You have joint custody?
Yes.
Legally?
No.
Go ahead.
And then after living there for about a month or two, we decided that we were going to go and get a place together.
Got it.
And then once we moved into there, that's when she started changing and being very controlling, and everything had to be her way. And I couldn't do anything the way that I wanted to. If I did something wrong, she would get mad at me. She wouldn't let me turn the heat on when it was cold. She would take light bulbs out of the lamps and hide them so I couldn't turn any lights on. She would also lock the bathroom door so I could not get into there. And I thought it was not a very good situation for me and my son to live there anymore.
When did the boyfriend start staying at the house regularly?
He wasn't there regularly.
Yes, he was.
No.
I didn't say live there. I said, when did he start staying there regularly?
We met at the beginning of October, I think.
So that's when he started staying there?
Yes.
Prior to that, was there any difficulty with the plaintiff?
Yes, there was.
What kind of difficulty?
Very controlling.
Go ahead.
I was not controlling of her, and I did not kick her out of the apartment. I don't have any legal right to do so. I did contact the police the day before she moved out on her own free will.
Don't tell me what she did. That's my judgment to make.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You contacted the police for a reason. When?
On October 25th.
What?
October 25th.
And she was
I have
still
a copy
there
of that
October
report.
25th?
Yes,
Fine.
she was.
She was still there. She didn't move out on October 12th.
No, she did
moved
not.
out on October 25th. Let me see the police report. Okay, October 25th. There's a printout. You were still there on October 25th, according to this, locked yourself in your bedroom.
No, I locked myself in my bedroom.
You locked yourself in the bedroom?
Yes.
And the police responded?
Yes, they did.
Did you speak to them that night?
No, I was not there when there was police there.
Where did you go?
Went and stayed in a motel room because she kicked me out that night.
Well, tell me how she kicked you out.
Well, she came to my bedroom door that night around midnight and proceeded to yell and scream at me and saying that I owed her this much money, and I asked to see the bills. And she
What time was it?
I thought it was around midnight.
What time was it?
It was actually around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
And I asked her to see if I could see the bills that she was talking about. She would not show them to me. And my boyfriend was behind the door.
This boyfriend?
Yes.
The one who stays over regularly?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Was standing behind the door so he could not see her. I was sitting on the bed covered up in sheets. And then I was done arguing because I didn't want to argue anymore with her because she was getting hysterical. And so I asked him to shut the door, and so he did.
Well, you hadn't paid any rent for the month of October.
Yes, I have.
No, you didn't. You can't pay both the deposit and the rent. You didn't pay that much money. Go ahead.
And so then we went out into the living room, and that's when she was going back and forth from the bathroom to her bedroom. And that's when she told me that we needed to leave right then and there because we broke the rental agreement.
How did she say you broke the rental agreement?
That is all she said to me, that I broke the rental agreement. And I told her no, because I had already put in my 30 days notice with the landlord.
Oh, when did you put in your 30 days notice?
It was earlier that month. I'm not exact on the day.
Well, you put it in October?
Yes.
But you didn't pay rent for October.
I wasn't going to until I was ready to.
Ah, that's right. So you didn't pay October's rent.
No.
So she was hysterical that you didn't pay October's rent.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe that's what I'm trying to testify to.
I don't care what you're trying to testify to. I asked you simple questions. So which one was it, a week or two?
I don't know. I'm not even going to bother.
All right, you're not going there.
And later today,
He was responsible and loving and gave you an opportunity to have a car, the car of your choice, and you blew it. Why are you mad at him?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jenny Lee Thompson claims former roommate Michelle Stubblefield owes for rent and bills.
Last name?
Last name Purvis, ma'am.
Where do you work, sir?
I'm a firefighter for Patrick National Corporation across the country.
How many nights a week did you spend at the defendant's home?
I think at that time it had been a total of 8 nights.
8 nights in the month of October, because that's when you met, right? You met the month. Listen to me very carefully, sir. You met sometime in the month of October. When in October?
I came back from fire on September 28th. I stayed home for 2 weeks, so it had to have been the first, let's see,
Don't
third?
look at her, look at me.
I'm looking at her for confirmation. I think it was the 3rd or 4th of October.
That's when you met?
That's when we met.
Where did you meet?
We met at Countryside. It's a rock and rodeo kind of place, kind of a bar, tavern type thing.
And when did you start staying over at her house?
Staying with her regularly?
No. When did you start staying over at her house, sir?
I believe it was like a week or two later that we met up.
Well, let's say a week or two later.
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
say a week later. So the October
About the
10th.
10th.
And she left, according to her, on the 12th.
Accordingly, sir.
But according to the police, it was the 20th.
And you know, that's
Fifth.
interesting, the whole police report, because I don't believe I've heard anything about that. And as my job as a firefighter, ma'am, I would be...
Listen to me.
Yes,
Listen
ma'am.
to me. 25th.
Yes, ma'am. 25th then.
So let's take your numbers. You have the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. You have 15 nights. And of the 15 nights, you were there one half the time. According to you, a little more than 55% of the time. Those are your numbers.
I understand what you're saying, ma'am. I don't believe that's what I'm trying to testify to.
I don't care what you're trying to testify to. I asked you simple questions. How many nights did you sleep there? You said 8. When did you start sleeping there? You told me on the 10th, because you met on the 3rd. You said maybe it was 2 weeks later. Well, if it was 2 weeks after you met, then you spent every night there. So which one was it, a week or 2?
I don't know. I'm not even going to bother.
All
now.
right, you're not going there.
Well, I'm
You
not
see
going to
where I'm
jump up
going,
and say
sir?
I'm wrong either.
You see where I'm going, sir?
Well, ma'am,
Oh.
may I test? May I?
No, I'm asking the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you ever at the house where the defendant's child was there?
I was.
How often?
Maybe a day that he actually stayed the night there.
And when he stayed and spent the night there, did he stay in his own room?
No, ma'am. He has his own bed in her room.
And where did you stay?
In the room.
With her?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is the child?
The child was at the time 16, 17 months.
Now, Mr. Purvis, you could briefly tell me what you want to say, sir, and say it because I have other fish to fry today.
Copy. The night in question, and when she told her to leave, and she did tell her to leave because she told both of us to leave, she had violated a roommate agreement or rental agreement, which I can't recall now because there's been 2 different things said. But I know that she asked us to leave, and she was acting very hysterical. And the time that I first started hanging out, I actually met her at the bar. I actually hit on Jen first. That's how I met her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to go through your social history? Go on,
It's
Jerry
not a
Springer.
social... I'm just
Listen
trying...
to me very carefully, sir. She did break the rental agreement. She didn't pay October's rent.
Copy.
That's breaking the rental agreement.
Copy.
This is the rental agreement. It says the 2 of them lived there. They were both supposed to pay rent. She didn't pay October's rent. Not only didn't she pay October's rent, but half the time you were there. Half the time in October, you were there, according to you. I didn't make that up. You gave
right.
me the information.
From midnight
So
to
not
8.
only, I don't care if it was midnight to 7 a.m., sir, you were there. So not only didn't she pay rent, but she had company and didn't pay rent. So she had right to be angry. And if she said, I want you to move out, she didn't have to leave.
That's not how she said it, ma'am.
I don't care if she says get out. You don't have to leave.
She threatened her, ma'am.
I don't care what she said, sir.
Okay.
The fact that she was afraid of being put out, and maybe you didn't want to be involved, maybe you should have gone to the place where you spend the other half
At
of
my house.
October. Fine. Listen, who else lives in your house?
I have 2 other roommates. I live on campus.
Good. Can't she come to stay with you?
Absolutely.
Great. Is that what you did?
Absolutely, when she doesn't have her kid.
No. Listen to me. She didn't have her kid that night of the 25th.
Oh, the 25th. No, ma'am.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't have a child there the 25th.
Well...
So did she come and spend the night with
About
you?
the date, the 25th, but...
Did she come and spend the night with you?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because at that time, we have a roommate agreement, and we all have our own nights of the house. Because there's 3 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. So that night was not my night to be there.
Oh, so you had to find a girlfriend to
No, I don't.
Oh, I got it.
I have another home.
Oh, I got it now. Now, Mr. Purvis, when you left that night, where did you go?
To a motel.
You did.
Yes, ma'am.
You would have had to have gone someplace else to sleep anyway, Mr. Purvis, because you have a roommate agreement, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I assume you paid for the motel.
I did.
Good. Now, the next night, you are allowed back in your room
Yeah, my place is fine.
because somebody else had to go find a girlfriend,
No.
right?
No.
Right? Did you take her back with you the second night?
She actually did stay with me a couple nights after that.
Great, terrific. So the first night you would have had to have paid for a motel room. This time you had a comfy roommate to spend it with because that's part of her counterclaim, which is nonsense. A, you didn't have to leave, Miss Stubblefield, when she told you to leave. If you'd paid your rent, you may have had difficulty, but you certainly would have had more of a case if you paid your rent. You can't keep yourself there, not only yourself, but yourself in company without paying. Anyway, are you still in the apartment?
Yes, I am.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Do you live by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Very smart.
Yes.
You're $395 and your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your
You are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Well, she kind of ruined it when she tried to control what I did and what I couldn't do.
In reality, she's very naive and ignorant.
Everything had to be her way.
And doesn't believe that she owes anybody anything.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tennant versus Holly. Step forward.
Carolyn Tennant is suing her son's friend, 22-year-old Jeffrey Holly, for stealing her golf cart and damaging it while driving drunk.
Miss Tennant, this young man was a friend of your son's?
Yes, ma'am.
You all went camping together.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a golf cart that sort of takes you to and from, I guess,
Yeah.
a lake or shopping or whatever.
Well, it's like the major mode of transportation out there.
And other people have golf carts.
Yes.
Mr. Holly took your golf cart without your permission.
Correct.
And he was drunk.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And he had an accident.
Yes.
Your golf cart was damaged.
Correct.
And the golf cart of the other people was damaged.
Yes, ma'am.
The other people sued you as the golf cart owner.
Yes.
Successfully.
Yes.
And you believe that Mr. Holly has the responsibility of compensating you for both that judgment
Yes.
and the damage to your golf cart.
Correct.
Mr. Holly says that it wasn't his fault
Yes, ma'am.
and he should have been able to go to court and prove that. And since he didn't have that opportunity because you proceeded without him, he's not responsible. Did I identify your position, Mr. Holly?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
I have to find out a little bit about you, sir. Age,
Age 22.
occupation,
Basement waterproofing and foundation wall rebuilds.
number of times arrested.
Since I turned 18, 3 times.
For what?
Disorderly conduct, a malicious assault, and unauthorized use of heavy equipment.
Were you drinking during any one of those 3 arrests?
Yes, ma'am, the disorderly conduct.
Now, have you ever had convictions for any of those things?
Yes, ma'am.
Ever go to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
I did 1 week, and then I got out on a signature bond.
Are those cases over?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holly, you and booze don't get along, sir.
Yes, I agree, ma'am.
You want to tell me what happened with Miss Tennant's golf cart?
Yes, ma'am, I do. That night, it was Memorial Weekend, you know, and there was a bunch of us out there together, and, you know, everybody being of age recently, we all decided, you know, we were going to get drunk and have a good time. They have dances at the barn, whatnot.
You know that you don't have a good time when you get drunk.
Yeah, I'm starting
You
to realize
really
that,
understand
ma'am.
that. You know, most of the time you don't remember. Most of the time you act stupid. Most of the time you get sick afterwards. You really have a much better time if you're sober. That doesn't mean you can't drink. That just means that you have a better time if you're not drunk. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
But you got drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
And I decided to take the golf cart keys from the top of the fridge. Because, I mean, I figured, you know, there was people driving it all day and most of the night. I figured, why not? You know, I mean, we were just going to go around the block and come right back. There was another golf cart passing filled with some people that lived down at the next camper down. And I thought they were going to stop, and I guess they thought I was going to stop, and it didn't work out that way.
So?
So I ran into the side of them. They proceeded to get off the golf cart and just completely make an enormous deal of it. I mean, they're golf carts. They don't go over 10 miles an hour.
Oh, they go faster in there.
Shh.
And during all this, I mean, everything started getting out of control. People were yelling at each other. One of the ladies on the golf cart, her fiancé, decided to sucker punch me. Then I was held from defending myself once I found out in that township I could legally defend myself once somebody put their hands on me. I was held from defending myself. And I mean, why couldn't I get any, you know, closure on that? Because I did make a police report on it, and I figured
You
not
wanted closure. Tell me how you wanted to get closure.
we were going to make a deal. My brother was going to give the guy $1,500 for his golf cart.
No. I'm talking about you wanted to get closure from being sucker punched, you said.
Yeah, either a chance to defend myself at that moment
You mean
in time
to
or...
punch him? You wanted to punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were prohibited from doing that. How, sir?
Because Alan Reining grabbed me and basically pushed me backwards and bear hugged me and wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't let you punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would have given you closure.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been watching too many psychological programs that seem to be proliferating in daytime television, sir. Not everything gives you closure. You usually defer to the fact that you want closure when somebody in your family dies. You go and visit them and you say, now I have closure. You know, I've seen them, I've said goodbye. Closure is not usually a thing that one refers to, punching somebody back. That doesn't give you closure. Mr. Holly, you're a very polite young man. Do I make you nervous?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you're sweating?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Did it make you nervous when you appeared before the other judges?
Not really.
But I scare you.
Yes, ma'am.
That is a really, really good thing. I've not had a particularly good day today. That is the only thing that's made my day today. The fact that I make you nervous enough to sweat. You owe Mrs. Tennant money. You owe her the money that she spent or will spend to fix her golf cart. And you owe her the judgment that was entered against her for the accident you had when you took her golf cart without permission. Because if you go back, Mr. Holly, these are the objective facts. I'm not going to really scream and yell at you because you've been so polite. I'm going to say it easily so you can get my drift. A, you were drunk. You should never have gotten behind the wheel of any instrument that was moving because you weren't exercising good judgment. B, you got behind the wheel of it without permission. So in effect, you stole it. You had an accident. You're responsible to reimburse her for any out-of-pocket expenses that she had. And her out-of-pocket expenses were?
$1,782.50.
$1,782.
And 50 cents.
And 50 cents. That's your liability, Mr. Holly. That's your legal responsibility. And if you don't want to incur that kind of obligation, you're not supposed to get drunk and act stupid so that you really don't know what's going on. You're not supposed to take people's property without permission. You're not supposed to get behind something that goes even 10 miles an hour when you're drunk. All of those things you did. Just say, it's going to make you feel better and you're going to stop sweating. It's my fault.
Really,
It's
man,
my fault. I was drunk. I took your property. I caused you aggravation. I'm sorry. I will make you whole. And if you can't do that, Mr. Holly, I will. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,782.50. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Why was y'all excused? You may step out.
I think that she just did a wonderful job.
I mean, I'm a little, upset about it.
Used poor judgment and not trying to pay me back.
I do have an alcohol problem. I can admit to that.
And somebody that's not responsible is not welcome.
I have land all over the place I can go.
No, he is no longer welcome back. No.
I make $15 an hour. I mean, I'll pay it, have it done out the way, and I can go somewhere else.
Roman is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old Jennifer Buck, for having him falsely arrested for domestic violence. Jennifer claims an angry Michael knocked her to the ground.
Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Krollman, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You and Ms. Bach have a child together. And it is your claim that sometime in 2005, she filed false assault charges against you, which caused you to retain an attorney, lose wages, suffer. You want her to compensate you.
Correct.
Ms. Bach says she told the truth when she filed for this protective order. As a matter of fact, the protective order was granted to her for a year. She is counterclaiming because she says you're the one who continues to harass her, and she's going to tell me why. How old is your child?
She just turned 2 in January.
And when did this incident happen that formed the basis of the order of protection?
November 10th, 2005.
How long had you been separated at that point?
Almost 2.5 months.
Where did the incident occur?
In my house.
What time?
It was around 7 in the morning.
What were you doing at his house at 7 in the morning?
It wasn't 7, it was about 5:30. We had been out that evening, and he invited me back to his house, so we were at his house.
You had been out together in the evening?
Yes.
Is that right?
We met up later in the evening, yes.
Where?
At a bar.
Okay, so what happened at 5:30?
She had come back. We had been involved in a relationship for, a year and a half, and we had been intimate that night, and I had to go to work that morning. I was tired, I needed to get some sleep, so I asked her to leave. She did not want to leave. She basically wasn't satisfied and wanted me to continue. I told her I had to get some sleep. I asked her to leave. So that is when she left. When she left, she walked into the garage, knocked over a set of poker chips. I heard a loud noise, so I followed her. And at that time, she was walking out of the garage. I was tired. I wanted to get to sleep. I wanted to make sure she left. So I approached her. I went to put my hand on her. And as I did that, she turned into me. When that happened, she fell over. Immediately, I apologized and I asked to help her up. After about a minute, she let me help her up. I gave her a hug and apologized, and then I went inside and she got in her car.
All right, that's the basis for your application for a protective order, that incident?
Yes, but that's not how it happened.
Now you tell me your version of the incident.
Okay, we did get into the argument. I was leaving. I did knock off the poker chips off the table. I continued to keep walking. I never stopped at all. All of a sudden, he comes behind me, pushes me, and I fall from the garage onto the driveway. I fell on my complete left side. I was crying. He did not offer to help me up, did not apologize. I got up. I was crying. I asked him to apologize, and I left. I went home. I didn't tell anybody what happened. A couple days later, family members found out and told me to go file. So I went and filed charges on him.
Okay. So you filed for a protective order based upon this incident. And what happened when you went to court, Mr. Krollman?
Well, actually, I was going out of town the following weekend, and she had driven by and found out that I was home. So she called the cops, and they came and picked me up. I spent the night in downtown.
Okay.
So I got a lawyer the next day. And when we went to court, the charges ended up being dismissed.
You say that there was a protective order issued for 1 year.
Correct. We went to court in December for a CPO, civil protection order. It's a permanent restraining order against the temporary restraining order per se.
Right. Well,
So
what happened with that?
that was granted December 19th of 2005.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. I'm sorry, it's December 21st.
So in Ohio, you can have a civil protective order as opposed to a criminal proceeding pending.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Krollman, you have already had a civil hearing on this matter, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And the court in that hearing on December 19th, 2005, made findings. And one of the findings that the court made was that your actions caused her to be injured on November 10th, right?
Right.
Then you can't sue her, sir. I mean, if that's the incident that you're suing her over, you can't sue her.
They just basically said that there was no evidence supporting the facts that I caused those injuries. I have,
Oh,
actually,
no,
I have a couple of things, if I may.
Just a second,
Sure.
though. The court says, inasmuch as petitioner's testimony about hitting the driveway because of the respondent's conduct is in part corroborated by the respondent, that's you, the court finds that the petitioner is a credible witness on that topic. So the court credited her version of the events. I don't sit as an appellate court. For that court, the same burden of proof exists in the two courts. There's already been a finding in that court with regard to your conduct, sir. With regard to that, the matter is what we call in legalese res judicata. I don't go back and look at facts again. They dismissed the case and sealed it criminally. Civilly, they found you liable, and they issued a civil protective order for a year. I'm prepared to hear what you have to say. If it's relevant, sir, I just told you what the law is. That's the law. We're not going to make new law here.
Okay.
You got it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Basically, the whole reason that I believe all of this came out is in October, a month prior, I had filed for custody.
Did you tell that to the judge?
Yes.
In this proceeding?
Yes.
So? The judge heard you?
Following that, a month later, she filed for that motion.
No, that's not true, sir. You're missing something. You filed for custody in October. You got together November 10th. She fell outside on November 10th. That's intervening. Go.
That same week that the charges were filed, she also sent me an email stating that let's check to see if either of us have a criminal record. All of this in lieu of her trying to build up a case for custody since she knew I'd filed for custody.
Well, listen to me. Mr. Krollman, look at me. Just for my own information. Why did you file for custody in October, sir?
Because she would not let me see my daughter unless it was just to talk about us. It was only, I'll let you talk about us and then I'll let you see your daughter.
If that's true, terrible. Because she's got to understand this child has two parents, and the child is entitled to know both parents. She may not care for you anymore. That's not the child's problem. And sometimes women don't get that. They have to get it. Some judge has to tell them that those are the rules. However, sir, you filed for custody in October. You got together again in November. And I guarantee you that you said things in your application for custody that she didn't like, right?
Probably. I'm sure we both did.
And then she was trying to gather ammunition about you after you filed for custody, right?
Correct.
That's fair game, Mr. Krollman. So you have no case here because that's already been decided by another court. Now, you want to proceed with your counterclaim?
Yes.
I got 30 seconds to hear the nonsense.
Okay. Mr. Coleman is an alcoholic. He's obviously had disorderly conduct while intoxicated.
And how
on a
long
background.
have you known that?
Ever since I met him.
Well, that's your problem. That's your bad judgment, not only to hook up with somebody you say is an alcoholic, but to make a baby with them. But you did.
It's true.
And the child is entitled to know both parents.
It's true.
Good. Now, let's go.
He had supervised visitation during this custody proceeding, and now he's not allowed in the bar as part of our agreement when he has her for visitation.
Fine. But he has her for visitation.
Correct.
Good. Which means that the court found that he was a reasonable enough guy to have unsupervised visits.
Correct.
Right? Despite what you said.
Correct.
So the court found that you were not a credible witness. Because
No.
when you had a trial on the issue of custody and visitation, did you have hearings with regard to custody and visitation?
Yes.
And were you opposed to him having unsupervised visits?
Yes.
The court did not believe you as to the reasons why, because the court ultimately granted him unsupervised visits.
We settled.
You only settled because your lawyer said he's going to get unsupervised visits. Listen, I was in the business 25 years. I know the game. If you thought you were winning, you wouldn't have settled. That's not the way women play the game.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's thrown things at me, broke a mirror, shoved me in the closet.
And yet you went to bed with him in November of 2005. You don't get points for genius.
True.
And later today,
You broke the banister in her house, then you got drunk, you fell down the stairs, you had to be taken to the hospital. Is any of that true, sir?
Not really.
How about a little piece of it?
had him falsely arrested for an assault. Jennifer is countersuing for emotional distress and harassment.
What else?
He harasses me. I had the restraining order, and this is the stack of emails he has sent me through then. I've caught him following me to the doctor's office where I take my daughter. He continues to sue me regardless of what's happening. I have 4 pending court cases outside of this court.
What are the 4 pending court cases?
He sued me for money when we were together. His mother's suing me for money.
Did his mother give you money?
Yeah, she paid a couple car payments for me.
So his mother gave you money?
Yes.
She's entitled to sue you for money. What other case?
We had a court case Monday, and he failed to show up. He was trying to get me in contempt of child support. He failed to show up. The judge dismissed
What do
it.
you mean he was trying to get you in contempt for child support? I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
We share medical bills, basically. So she hasn't paid me half the medical bills, so I took it to court.
Have you paid the medical bills you're supposed to?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, well, then I assume that the case would be dismissed, and probably with prejudice.
He wanted medical payments up until the time she was born. So since we were together up until she was 9 months old, the judge didn't see that was appropriate.
Keep going. What are the other lawsuits? You said 4.
Right. So we had the court case on Monday, the 2 lawsuits that his mother and him have against me, and then we have another one objecting an administrative hearing where I get to claim her on tax exemptions every year.
Okay. How much do you pay for child support?
I was paying $204 every 2 weeks.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself with my daughter.
And you work?
Yes.
Who pays for daycare?
I do.
Solely?
Yes.
What does it cost you for daycare?
$380 a month.
Well, Mr. Coleman, if I were judge hearing the case and you were paying $100 a week support and she's paying for daycare, I wouldn't let you claim the child as a tax deduction either. I'm just telling you, that's gratuitous advice. If she's paying $380 for child care a month and she lives by herself with her child and half of all of the expenses are attributed to the child, then your $100 a week doesn't cut it for 50% of support. So I would just gratuitously give up on that one. Listen, the fact that you don't like each other anymore is unfortunate. If you liked each other, you'd still be together. You did a very dumb thing in making a child together. You picked the guy who you say is an alcoholic. Not too swift, but he's yours, and he's your daughter's, and he's entitled to see her, and she's the mother of your child, and she's with her a lot, Mr. Coleman. And if you were a nice guy, you wouldn't want to stress out the person whose primary responsibility it is to take care of your child. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you do that, it's just vindictive, not smart, and certainly not in your daughter's best interest. I'm just telling you, just not smart. It's petty and stupid. The fact that she filed for this protective order, nonsense. It was nonsense. I know what happened. She went like this. She didn't accidentally dump your poker chips. She went like that. She was angry. She knows it. I know it. She knows that I know it. That doesn't give you license to push her, which you did. Does it require a protective order? Were there other acts of violence in your relationship? I don't know the answer to that question. It's over. Put a period. Move on positively. You have to live together for the next 16 years. They can either be happy 16 years or miserable 16 years. Your child is 2, right?
Right.
It's up to you. You're both young people. You have a chance to move on and be happy.
Can I add something, Your Honor?
Yes.
Because of things that have happened in the past, that was the first time that I've filed anything. I've called the cops several times. He's taken my daughter. I've had to call the cops to get her back from his mother. He's thrown things at me, broke a mirror, shoved me in the closet. I had to call the cops when we went on vacation.
Was this all before November of 2005?
Yes, it was.
And yet you went to bed with him in November of 2005. You met him up at a bar. Nobody grabbed you and brought you back to the house, right?
True.
Okay. You don't get points for genius.
True.
Goodbye.
True.
Parties
Case
are
is
excused.
dismissed.
You may step out.
I hope that she can get over the petty drama.
I hope he can get out of the bar, stop drinking,
And she can actually set a good example and be a good role model for her daughter.
be a responsible father, and keep her number 1.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Govis versus Epley. Step forward.
22-year-old Catherine Govis is suing the father of her child, 23-year-old Brian Epley, for the value of a computer. Brian claims he supported Catherine the entire time they lived together.
Miss Govis, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
You have a baby?
Yes.
How old is the baby?
6 months.
How old are you?
23.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
Well, there was a time that you lived together because you have a child together. That didn't last very long, and according to your complaint, he owes you for a computer that you purchased on your credit while you were together. Mr. Epley says that you left the computer when you left him, and you left the computer because he had supported you for 6 months while you were pregnant, and your arrangement was that you were each supposed to contribute to half of the expenses for the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Is there any reason why you decided to have this child?
We were together for 3 years off and on.
Together off and on, Miss Govis suggests to me that when it was off, it was because it wasn't good, right?
Yes.
Did you think having a baby was going to make it better?
No.
Your parents, did they have other children?
Yes.
How old are they?
We're all 2 years apart. I have older brothers and sisters.
So all of a sudden, your mother's taking care of a baby again?
Yep.
Terrific. And you don't even live in the same state.
No, ma'am.
Do your parents see their grandchild?
No.
I'm just suggesting to you that you just think about things before you do them. Like buying an expensive piece of equipment on credit. Now, you want to tell me how that came about?
He was going to school and working at the same time, and he was working nights, so for him to wake up and go to the library to use a computer and all that, it was too difficult and too time-consuming, so he asked me to get him a computer on my
play
credit.
with your nails.
Sorry. He asked me to get him a computer on my account because he has bad credit. My parents paid for his bankruptcy, which was a couple months prior. He got that all settled, and then in February of the next year, I got him the computer. And 3 weeks later, we broke up.
Were you pregnant when they paid for his bankruptcy?
No.
Your Honor, they didn't pay for my bankruptcy. It was $600 for me to file bankruptcy. I only had $400 of it at the time, and they lent me the other $200 that I didn't have to go ahead and file for it.
Did you pay him back?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not. My father would not take the money from him.
But you offered
I
it.
offered the money.
Oh, that's fine. So, you put it on your credit card. When you left, what was the discussion about the computer?
That he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges started coming in.
Oh, so you bought it for 6 months free
Yes.
financing. And you did discuss it when you left?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion.
He said that he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges because he didn't want to pay any extra money on it. He told me to go ahead and send in for the $100 rebate and send that in towards the computer, but I never got the $100 rebate back from it.
Did you send in for it?
Yes. I don't know if I put the old address and it just didn't come within the time frame of my change of address or what.
A detail.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Repley. Let me hear.
Okay, we moved in together on January 1st of 2005. I moved her down there from Illinois. That's whenever we got together, and I told her at that point in time, you know, I wasn't in a hurry for her to get a job, but I would appreciate the help. We lived there for 4 months, and then we moved into a more expensive place, and I told her I needed her help at that time. We agreed she would pay half the bills and half the rent to help me out, as well as I was going to school full-time and working full-time. So whenever she left, she said, okay.
No. Okay, needed help. And when you told her you needed help and she agreed to pay for half of the expenses, sir, in what month was that?
That was in February of 05.
And in what month did she become pregnant?
I believe it was September, October.
August.
Between February of 05 and August of 05, did she work?
For about a month, Your Honor.
Did you work?
I worked for about 3 months.
Who did you work for?
I worked for temp service.
What'd you do with your money?
Gave it to him.
You contributed your money to the household.
No, ma'am.
And we got a car together, and I paid for the car payment, the gas,
Whatever.
and
She wasn't
insurance.
spending the money on drugs.
No.
So she was contributing what she could to the household. And in August, you became pregnant.
Yes.
So you stopped working?
No. I was working up until November.
So you stopped working and you didn't contribute anymore?
No.
All right, now you tell me, sir, about the conversation you had about the computer when she left.
Whenever she left, her family came to Indiana to help her pack up to move back. And she said, you know, she only worked for a total of, it might have been 2
I
or
don't
3.
care. I don't care, sir. That's irrelevant to me.
But she owed me for the half of the rent for all the
She
months
doesn't owe
that
you
she
for
didn't
anything.
work.
I just want to know what she said.
She said, you can have the computer for the money that I owe you for all the expenses that you've paid to take care of me during this time.
You mean you never had the conversation with her, I'll pay you for this computer by August?
At the point whenever we broke up, I talked to her a couple months, like
No,
a month
no,
later.
look at
We
me.
were talking.
I asked you a question. That requires a simple answer. Did you ever have a discussion with her that the computer would be paid for by August?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you decide not to do that?
Because I felt that I did not owe her anything, Your Honor.
Well, feel. That's what we're talking about. So you see, you did have the discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does he owe you for the computer?
After everything, it is now $1,750.79.
So, Mr. Repley, this is the situation. If you move in with somebody and things don't work out, that's one thing. She moves on, you move on. Takes two to tango, takes two to make a baby. Takes two to have a problem if they don't want to have a baby. I believe her that she worked on and off, not consistently, not like you did. Maybe that was a good indication that she didn't want to get involved with somebody who was not keeping up their half of the bargain, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what you don't do is have a baby with her. And there are things that you can do in order not to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You owe us $1,750. You still have the computer?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I sold it.
Why?
Because I did a change of jobs and I was hurting on money, so I had to sell the computer.
Well, this is going to hurt even more. So now you don't have the computer, you have to pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
$1,750. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I hope that we can still keep a strong friendship, for the sake of our daughter.
We'll stay friends.
She deserves to see her father and her mother, so.
He'll be able to see her. His family won't, but he will.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Moses. Step forward.
23-year-old Erin King is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old Avian Moses, for stopping payment on a rent check. Avian claims Erin kicked her out after 2 weeks of living together.
Ms. King, the defendant was your roommate for a short period of time. It is your claim that she moved out after an argument that you had and she put a stop payment on her rent check.
Yes.
You want your rent.
Right.
And the defendant says that you kicked her out of the apartment and therefore she doesn't have to pay you any rent. Ms. Moses, you moved into Ms. King's apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I moved in approximately August the 4th, I believe, around the beginning of August.
Was it August 4th?
August 5th.
And you knew each other before?
Yes, we did.
Through college.
What was the rental arrangement?
The rental arrangement was that we would both split the rent equally, $305, including utilities. She was supposed to pay me on the 3rd of each month.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she move out?
She moved out November the 14th.
Had she paid you November's rent?
Well, she wrote me a check when I went to the bank to cash it.
That's the rent check that she stopped paying.
Right, and I have that as well.
Okay, so that was November 14th. So far you were in the apartment from November the 3rd to November the 14th.
Yes.
So you should have paid rent.
Yes.
On what date did you give her the rent?
Probably the 7th. It was after the time that I was supposed to give it to her. Oh, yes, ma'am, the 7th.
Why were you late with your rent?
Well, a week before that, my purse had gotten stolen. And I didn't have a bank card. I had to change all my accounts. And during this time when I was changing the numbers and all, getting everything straight, I informed Erin of this. I said, I don't have a checkbook. I don't have a bank card. I said, can I just pay you next week once my accounts are in order? She said, yes, no problem. I said, I'll pay you a late fee. She said, okay, no problem. And I did so.
You paid her the rent?
Yes, and a late fee.
Which you owed her?
Yes.
And the late fee?
Yes.
Now, why did you stop payment on the check?
Me and Erin had been having problems living together for about a month. She was in an abusive relationship. It was constant fighting in the apartment. Her boyfriend would come over, get high, smoke weed, hit on me. She'd leave him in there. She gave him a key to the apartment. She would constantly fight with me over food, saying I was stealing from her. We got into a physical altercation, and I decided this was the last straw. She screamed at me. My name was not on the lease, and to get out of her house. So I said, gladly, I'll stop payment on my rent check, and I'll leave your house immediately.
Well, you can't do that. A, you didn't tell her you were stopping payment on the rent check.
I did tell her I was stopping payment on my rent check.
Really? No.
She
You didn't even
me.
say that in your answer, that you told her you would
She
leave
called
immediately.
me that same day, and I told her I was stopping payment on my rent check, and I was moving out.
You may have told her that after she called you on the phone, but when you had the argument with her in the house...
No, she told me to leave. She told me this was her apartment and to leave.
On the phone or in person?
No, when we had our physical altercation.
I understand that. You did not say to her, I'm putting a stop payment on the rent check. According to you, you told her over the phone that you were putting a stop payment on the rent.
I apologize for not mentioning that, but I did tell her at the point when we were after the physical altercation, the police that came, I told her that I was leaving and I was stopping payment on my rent check.
Well, you can't.
Okay.
You can't. Unless, of course, she changed the locks.
Yes, that's exactly what she did.
When did you change the locks?
I changed the locks on the 14th. That was because she had been going through my belongings. She had actually stole from...
Just a second. You can't change the locks and ask for rent at the same time.
Well, I actually changed the locks after she did the stop payment on the check. After they gave me the check back from the bank, I went to the bank on the 11th. They told me at the bank I need to take this check back to Ms. Moses. They couldn't tell me why because it was concerning her account. After I left the bank, I said, Avian, I just left the bank. They gave me the check. She said, I'm not paying you anything. I'm moving out.
That's not correct.
And so after that, I later discovered that she had been in my room while I was out of the apartment.
Ms. King, can't have it both ways. If you change the locks on the apartment, making it impossible for her to come back to the apartment, you can't charge her for rent for the entire month.
She did come back to the apartment. After we got into the argument on that Sunday, the police came.
Who called the police?
She did. Even though she started the altercation, she was threatening me with an alcohol bottle, saying that she was going to hit me upside my head with it. While the police was there, I said, it's fine. She can stay, for the next 3 weeks. It won't be any problems. She left that Sunday. She actually came back that Monday and spent the night, even after she told me that she was moving out, and she had started to move her stuff out.
When did she finally move the last bit of property out of the house?
She didn't finish moving out because after I had the locks changed, I called her and I let her know that I had the locks changed and to call me and make arrangements to get the rest of her belongings. I guess she was angry because I had the locks changed, and she said, well, you're stealing my property. She was with her mother. I said, no, you can come in and get your stuff. I even gave her mother a futon cover that was in the living room and a financial aid paper. I guess, it has her financial information. I kept telling them, please come in and get the rest of your stuff. I even, gave them that. I wasn't.
When did she take it out, or did she still not?
She left after I gave her mother the futon cover and the Norfolk State financial aid booklet. They said, we don't want the rest of the stuff. We're leaving, and they left it. And so she left a bed, a dresser,
Did you leave
clothing.
a bed and a dresser there?
Yes.
Ma'am, because yes, I did, because she wouldn't allow me to get it. She
well,
changed the locks.
Listen to me. You didn't sue her, did you, for your stuff?
Yes, I did. The court ordered her to give it back to me, and I didn't get it back until January the 1st of 2007.
Oh, so you did sue her. This is
Yes,
not
I
the
did.
first time you've been in small claims court.
No, ma'am.
You're only entitled to half a month's rent. Change the locks, but you're entitled to half a month's rent. $152.50.
Okay.
Right? That's what your half a month's rent is.
Yes.
And that's what you offered to pay her.
Yes, I did. She said she didn't want it.
$152.50. Absolutely right. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm happy with the judgment.
I'm just happy that she got her $250, and hopefully I wish her all the best.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Simpson. Step forward.
25-year-old Leah Miller is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old waitress Angelica Simpson, for her share of the furniture purchased for their apartment.
Miss Miller, you and Miss Simpson were friends and roommates for a while. You claimed that when she moved out, she took half the furniture in the apartment that you had both purchased on a credit card.
Correct.
You are stuck with the credit card, and she took half the furniture.
Correct.
Ms. Simpson says she did not take half the furniture.
Correct.
She only took a bed.
Bedroom set.
Bed. And she left items there that are worth far more than the bed that she took. Now, when did you move in together?
February of 2005.
Was it a one-year lease?
It was actually 15 months.
And when did you move out?
I left the last weekend in January.
And that was by agreement?
Correct.
When did you purchase the furniture?
February of 2005.
What did you purchase?
She purchased a bedroom set. I purchased a bedroom set.
When you say she purchased a bedroom set and you purchased one, were they purchased on two different credit cards or one credit card?
No, they did a joint account for both of us. So we were both liable for it.
Okay. Continue.
I also purchased a living room set, and she purchased her bedroom set, which included a bed, a dresser, an end table, a mattress. I purchased the same thing, plus a living room set, which included a couch, a coffee table, an ottoman, and a love seat.
Okay, go ahead.
One night, I came home, and I saw her and her friends playing quarters on my brand new coffee table. I confronted her about it.
When you say you purchased the living room furniture,
yes,
were you jointly paying the bill with her?
We had separated her cost from my cost, and we came up with an agreement that she would pay me $60 a month for her portion, and then I would pay the rest.
She only has responsibility for the bedroom furniture.
Correct.
And that's all that you're suing for.
Well, also, as the time went on, as we were living together, I found things missing from my room.
I don't care about things missing from your room.
Well, I had to purchase a lock to put on there, and I came home with her playing games on my...
Listen to me. I don't care if you had to put a lock on your room. I read it. You had to put a lock on your room for $2?
It was actually 15. Yeah.
In the scheme of things, you're talking about nothing.
Well, I had things missing from my room. Shirts, underwear I had missing from my room.
Good. I'm not bothering with that.
Yeah. Okay.
You had other people living there, other people staying there, other people staying over. Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture.
Well, when
Don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit because judges get irritated, especially this one. Okay. How much was your bedroom furniture?
The whole set together was around $1,300. It was like $1,300 and some change. Actually, Your Honor, I have evidence that hers was $1,412. That would be including the tax, probably.
$1,412. And how much of that did you pay, Miss Simpson?
I started paying her when I moved out. Like I said, I left a TV there that I had purchased for $500. There's also entertainment center, dishes, mirrors, things of that nature that were there that I had left there that I didn't take.
Just a second. Did you have, Miss Simpson, any agreement?
Yes.
Listen, you're not letting me finish my sentence. Did you have an agreement with Miss Miller that in lieu of paying your portion of the bill, $1,412, you were going to leave items in the apartment?
No.
Then I'm not interested in what you left.
But that's where I was going with this. I had moved out of the apartment and had paid her $55 for so-odd months. Then
just a second.
It was.
So that you talk
I
very.
didn't start. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
You paid her $55 a month for how many months?
So it was for 6 months.
Okay.
No.
Shh,
Okay.
just a second. $55 a month for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay, that would be $330.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then I'm a waitress, so I make all my money in tips, and I was paying her in cash. A incident arose with my mom when she pointed out that it was both my name and Miss Miller's name on the contract. So if I was paying her the money, how would I know that she was paying it to More Furniture? So I went into More Furniture and wanted to separate my name for her name on the account. They told me I was not allowed to do that.
Correct.
And that if we didn't pay off the money by the date with no interest, we would have to pay all of the back interest. When I brought this up to her, she did not want to give me receipts for the back payments, nor she had also moved out of the state and had given me a P.O. box where I could send her money, but I wasn't getting anything in return for paying her money. So my agreement was, well, if you're not...
What do you mean your agreement?
Or my side of it was, if you're not going to be proving to me that I'm paying you and give me a copy of the statement, then I will pay the money directly to More Furniture, but not to you.
So
you don't
did you
need
do
to be
that?
the middleman.
Did you do that?
No, because she hasn't been making the payments. They told me that...
Don't tell me what they told you.
Okay.
Do you have your statement?
Yeah, I have all
I'd
the
like to
statements
see
right
it.
here.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Here's
How
the
much-
statement.
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
How much money, if any, did she give you after she moved out?
$320.
No, she's making the payments.
Well, and this is my issue is, like you said, my furniture and her furniture is together, and there wasn't a minimum payment. So when or if it's not paid off, it's still gonna hurt my credit. That's what I'm saying. I have no problem paying the furniture. That's not the issue. I will pay the furniture and More Furniture. It was contacting Leah to make the payment.
But right now it's more than $1,412 because right now they've added interest.
Right.
Right.
But they won't separate us from each other. That's
Well,
why.
so there's just a second. Well, she's paying something. You're paying nothing.
Sure. No, and I understand that. But
Well,
I'm
but
paying
you have to
nothing
pay something,
to
madam.
her.
Where are you sleeping?
Well, I have a house.
You're sleeping on the bed.
Yes.
So you have to pay something.
I understand that. But I have an
Right.
agreement with More Furniture to pay the furniture.
I don't see that. Where are you standing there all by
Oh,
yourself with a
because
big
my-
smile? Where is the agreement that you have with More
I
Furniture
can't
to
get
pay
a copy
to
of it because my name and her name's on it without her permission.
Just a second. So how can you have an agreement without a copy of the contract?
Well, that would be the original contract.
No.
Okay.
Okay. 1,412 less 320 is $1,092.
Can I say something?
Sure.
In the months that I have been paying it, I've had to pay extra, and I was working 2 jobs. I know it's $60.
That's good for you.
But I have had back payments and all this stuff that I've had to come up with.
Good. That's what happens when you act stupid and take out a joint credit card with somebody. She owes you $1,092. And as soon as you receive that money, you will sign an agreement with her that the court will prepare that you are totally indemnifying her against any claim by Miller Furniture for this furniture, and they can deduct forthwith from your salary or your income tax refund, if any.
Okay.
You do work, don't you?
Yes.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,092. wait around to sign the contract. Thank
Okay.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I bought the furniture. I owed money for the furniture. It's going to the right person, not the middle person, so I'm okay with it. Justice has been served. I'm not petty. I'm not going to come after someone for damage to a coffee table. I think when you live with someone, you should have respect for all the household belongings. I'm kind of embarrassed that I was friends with someone like that for so long. You can't trust everyone you would like to, and you can't be gullible. Don't get a joint credit card with somebody. It's not a good idea. I just hope that she learns her lesson and she learns from it.
22-year-old Chastity Bell is suing her ex-boyfriend's friend, 25-year-old Anthony Carper, for a loan to pay court fines.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 458 on the calendar in the matter of Bell versus Carper. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Oops.
How are you related to her?
I'm not related to her. I'm the witness's mother.
Which witness?
Right.
Jesse.
I don't know.
You don't know she's your mother?
No, I do, but I mean, I don't know how this all came about.
I do.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Bell.
Yes.
How old are you?
22.
You work?
Yes.
For whom?
My father.
Doing what?
I'm a receptionist of his company. I've been working there for about 5 years.
Is it a successful company?
Yes.
How many children are there in your family?
I have one brother and one sister.
Is your sister younger or older?
She's older. She's 32.
So you're the baby daughter?
Yes.
Pretty one.
Thank you.
According to what I read, you used to be involved romantically with him.
Mm-hmm.
The one who's going to sit up and uncross his arms.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was a friend of this one.
Yes.
Yes,
correct.
ma'am.
So you became a friend of this one.
Well, I was friends with him before Jesse and I actually got into a relationship.
And I gather that your father must have been thrilled with your choice of boyfriends.
Absolutely not.
Now, I could tell that before I even sat down. Because these two charmers ended up in jail.
Correct.
For whatever. We'll figure it out. And it is your claim that you loaned Mr. Carper money to pay off his criminal fines.
Correct.
Mr. Carper says that you did pay off his criminal fines, and you did so as a gift because you were a friend of his. He says you were more than a friend of his, that you had a romantic relationship.
We were never boyfriend and girlfriend.
Listen, he didn't say boyfriend and girlfriend, he just says you were intimate with both of them.
No.
And all I can say is yuck. Can you imagine a father who has a company that has enough money to employ a receptionist? And this is the boyfriend and this is the friend that she goes to visit both of them in jail? How many times did you go to visit them in jail?
I never visited them in jail.
Oh, good. At least, thank God for that. What were you in jail for, Mr. Carper?
Personal reasons, ma'am.
Personal reasons is not a criminal offense.
Quiet! I made stupid decisions, Your Honor.
Mr. Carper, when I ask a question, I expect an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you in jail for?
Possession.
Possession of?
Schedule 2 substance.
What kind of substance?
Pills.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
And the last time you were arrested was when, sir?
Before I got incarcerated.
When were you incarcerated?
It's March of 2002.
And how long were you in prison?
30 months.
What prison?
Coffeewood and Camp 7.
Are you still on parole status?
Yes, ma'am.
Until when?
It's indefinite.
You're on indefinite parole?
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. Now your friend, what's his name?
Jesse Goff.
Jesse. How long have you and Jesse been friends?
Since I was 5 years old, ma'am.
And what was he in prison for?
Assault.
Assault?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had Jesse and Miss Bell been friends?
They had known each other for a long time. I never met her. She said I knew her before they started dating. I never met this girl until I came home. I didn't know who she was. So that's a lie right there.
How long did you think they were involved? He was in prison with you, right?
We were in the county jail together.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you in the county jail together?
2003.
Did he know her then? Were they involved then?
I take it. No, they weren't involved.
No. We were
When
not.
did you first hook up with Jesse?
I started talking to Jesse actually back in high school, about 9th grade.
When did you start to see him romantically?
I want to say July.
And he's just out of jail?
Yes.
You're his mother?
I am.
Sometimes you bake a souffle and it falls. Happens. Tell me about the loan.
I loaned him $4,589 on September 29th
to pay off his charges, which I have receipts of.
Well, tell me how it came about that you laid out that money.
Well, I saw him apply after job after job after job, and he kept getting turned down because he didn't have his license. And
what do you mean you saw him?
Well, I would take him and Mr. Goff to apply at jobs. And
why would you do that?
I was trying to help them out by taking them to fill out job applications so they could get a job, and I didn't want them to get locked back up. And I asked Mr. Carper if I were to pay off his fines, he could get his license and get a job, and if him and Jesse were willing to be my roommates, because I'm going through separations, so I...
Separation from?
My husband.
You have any children?
I have a 3-year-old daughter.
So you wanted to take your 3-year-old daughter and be their roommate?
Yes.
Who do you live with now?
Now I live with my parents. I'm currently trying to sell.
Stay there, because your judgment is impaired, big time.
Recently it has been, I do agree.
If you are a 22-year-old woman and your judgment is impaired and all you're doing is hurting yourself, that's one thing. But to take your 3-year-old child and on purpose, move in out of your parents' home into an apartment with 2 convicted felons who are on parole, one for drugs, and I'm not so sure about him now, is the kind of lapsed judgment that your parents aren't going to tolerate.
It's actually a house that I own, and my husband, my ex, moved out, and I could not afford the mortgage, and I actually lived there, and it was either I find some roommates or I try to
I don't
sell
care
the
if you
home.
have to live in a shelter. You don't take a 3-year-old child and put a 3-year-old child in a circumstance where you have 2 convicted felons, one of whom was there for pills.
I agree.
Got it?
It was also cocaine.
So you paid off his fines?
Yes.
And how was he supposed to pay you back?
He was going to pay me monthly because I actually charged it on a credit card, and he agreed to pay me monthly. At first, a little bit over the minimum payment, and then, you know, he was going to pay me a lot more.
What were the fines for? Can I see the piece of paper that you have?
It definitely is.
I doubt it.
Is that a real diamond in your ear?
Of course, ma'am. I don't wear fake things.
What?
I said I don't wear fake things. Yes,
Could I
it is.
see it, please?
You
Yeah,
said
take it out.
Wow.
Felony fee, fines, $1,000. Felony fee, $350. Jail admission fee, $25. And court-appointed attorney, $437. Love it. Commonwealth of Virginia. Good for Virginia. And what would happen to you, Mr. Carper, if you didn't pay these fines?
They would probably violate my parole.
And then what would happen to you?
Then I would not see the light of day forever.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Payment of the fine is what?
Punishment.
Right. And if you let somebody else pay your fines, you're allowing somebody else to do your...
Punishment, man.
Is he a quick learn or what?
It's quick.
And later today,
This guy is no good. No bargain, no good, no way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chastity Bell claims her ex-boyfriend's friend, Anthony Carper, owes for a loan to pay court fines.
What do you think fines are for, sir?
To be paid, ma'am.
Because they're part of your what?
Probation.
Part of your what? Punishment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if somebody else pays your fine, then you have no...
Punishment.
Right! Why do you think a court would allow that to happen?
Because it's the law, ma'am.
What's the law? Why do you think a court would allow somebody else to do your punishment? Let me ask you this, sir. We've already established that payment of the fine is what?
Punishment.
Right. And you're going to jail was a form of...
Punishment, ma'am.
Now, you couldn't say to somebody else, listen, I want you to do me a favor. I don't feel like going to jail. I'm going to go out and sell a whole bunch of pills and maybe a little cocaine, so I'm going to have a couple of bucks, you know. I'm going to give you $10,000 to do my 30 months. You think that the state would permit that to happen?
No, ma'am.
What would the person say to you now? I don't mind going to jail. I have nothing else to do. I could really use the $10,000. I'll go to jail for you for the 30 months. You think the state would permit that?
No, ma'am.
Because then you wouldn't be doing your own
punishment.
And if you let somebody else pay your fines, you're allowing somebody else to do your...
Punishment, ma'am.
Is he a quick learner or what? So the first thing you have to do in order to do your punishment is sell your diamonds. That's what the first thing that people do is sell their diamonds, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then they pay the rest of their debt, $4,500. Maybe you can get $89 for this taupe diamond. When did you give him up as a boyfriend?
We weren't really actually together because he's not capable of just having one girlfriend. We were supposedly together for probably about maybe a month.
You are an articulate, nice-looking girl who clearly has very low self-esteem. Because if you didn't have low self-esteem, you wouldn't have been involved with either one of them.
Correct.
You have parents who have a business, you have a child, you've made some bad judgments, but you're only 22 years old. You have the capacity to change. You have anything you want to add to what I've already said?
I do.
I mean, I'm just dying to hear why you would come be her witness if your son is sitting over there.
Because what's wrong is wrong, and you're absolutely right. He's skating his punishment.
You have anything new to add?
I think it's a fine how you do to thank somebody for doing all that she did for you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. By the way, did she also pay your son's fines?
Yes, she did.
Did he pay her back?
No, we actually go to court for that on March 7th in Prince William County.
Should we just hang out here?
Just a second. Just a second. So why don't you do this? You're his mother, right?
I am.
You made him. You raised him. Why don't you pay his fines?
Because he's 24 years old and I'm not responsible for him anymore.
Right, yeah, I know, but you're more responsible than a stranger. Maybe you should just let
I
him
would
go
not
back
have
to
paid
jail.
his fines in the first place.
You would let him go back to jail?
I would.
You're absolutely right. Sit down. In any event, she paid $4,589 in order to keep you free. I'm entering a judgment for $4,500 and his diamond. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It is what it is, man. She was messing with him. Me and her had a little thing going on.
I made a mistake by trying to help both of them out, and it blew up in my face.
If me and her would have stayed talking, this would have never came about.
Doesn't matter if he's seeing her or not. The money is still owed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Maldorado, you got to grow up to be a nice girl. No, you're not.
That's me, man.
No, you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jonathan Ferrucci claims ex-girlfriend Nikita Maldorado damaged his digital camera when she borrowed it for proms. In a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800.
There's so many girls in the ocean, I just pull out my fishing pole and go fish.
Rhonda Lynn is suing her former neighbor, Linda Blaney, for false accusations of punching her in the face. Rhonda claims it was Linda who attacked her with a weed eater.
All rise. Folks, have a seat, please.
You don't look like combatants, two of
We're
you.
just neighbors.
Well, you're just neighbors, but you're neighbors who seem to can't get along. According to your complaint, Miss Lynn, your neighbor, Miss Blaney, had you arrested, falsely arrested for assaulting her. You want her to cover your expenses for that.
Exactly.
Your bail, your lawyer's fees. Miss Blaney is counterclaiming because she says that you assaulted her. How long have you been neighbors?
About 4 years.
Right next door?
Yep.
Do you own or rent?
Own.
And Miss Blaney, do you own or rent?
I own. We live in a mobile home park, Your Honor.
So you've been in close proximity to each other for 4 years.
Yes.
Have you gotten along previously?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, we did.
I can see that we're going to have to do this my way. Yes, you've gotten along?
Yes, we did.
Until when?
Until early in 2005. I couldn't stand listening to the abuse going on next door, and I started to really dislike Linda Blaney.
What kind of abuse?
Extreme verbal abuse. Extreme.
To whom?
To Cody.
Cody is?
She's the granddaughter.
Verbal abuse by Miss Blaney?
Correct.
To her granddaughter?
Yes, and to many other people, too. There was often a lot of screaming going on at her place.
Okay, so you decided...
Yeah. I really care about Cody, and finally I couldn't stand listening to it anymore, so I called the police. I guess the police came and they questioned Cody, but they questioned her in front of her, and Cody is afraid.
That's not too bright.
No. And Cody is afraid of wrath of Grandma. So 2 days later I was out weeding in my garden, and I had planted some flowering ground cover for her several months before in front of her fence, and she came out and started cutting it down, and so I just stopped and was watching her, and then she picked it up and said, "These are yours, they belong in your yard," and threw them at me.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't. Go ahead.
And then as I was starting to pick them up and I was saying, "No, they belong in your yard," she body slammed me to try to keep me from picking them up. And when I tossed it into her yard, she started slamming me with the weed eater. And she hit me a couple of times and punched me in the jaw, I attempted to hit her back, and then I ended up wrestling the weed eater away from her.
Did you hit her with the weed whacker?
I poked her.
So you hit her?
Yeah, but not hard. It was more to make the point.
Just a second. So you took it away from her,
yeah,
and then you hit her with it?
Yeah, she hit me with it several times. I did it more to make a point. I said, now you finally hit someone who hit you back. And then I threw it to the ground. But it was not with force.
Okay. And you were arrested?
Yes, which I was extremely shocked.
Because Miss Blaney called the police?
I called the police as well.
You both did? Mm-hmm. And the case was subsequently dismissed?
Yes.
Was it dismissed prior to trial or after trial?
Prior.
All right, Miss Blaney, tell me your version of these events.
I was already out in my yard, doing my yard. I didn't see Rhonda anywhere. I was out there, and I done around my fence. I'd put a fence up between us. Let me explain. And when I first moved in the trailer there...
Who lives in the trailer, Miss Blaney?
It's me and my 2 grandkids. I have custody, and I adopted my grandson.
How old is Cody?
She'll be 13 on the 19th.
And how old is your grandson?
He's 3 now. I've had them both since he was 3 days old.
Where's their mother?
Her mother is in rehab right now. At the time I took her, she was really highly on drugs, and she was running the streets and prostituting at that time.
Your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And she's the mother of the 3-year-old as well?
No, my son is the father.
Your son is the father of the 3-year-old?
Yes.
Where is he?
He's in prison right now.
Sounds to me like your mothering skills aren't so terrific.
Well, they didn't start doing this until they was in their 30s, so.
Her son's only in his early 20s.
My son is 33 years old.
I don't care if he's 33. I don't care if he's 15. Okay, so keep going.
Can I tell you ahead of time what had happened? 3 or 4 months after I moved in, this lady here in Rhonda Lynn went off for some reason about 2 or 3 in the morning. She bangs on my trailer and puts a dent on the side of my trailer, hollering my name and everything. And then she gets in her car. Well, I'm on the phone with the police department, and I'm telling them this lady's crazy. I said, she's hollering and screaming, and I swear I don't know what it was about. She gets in her Blazer that she used to have, or whatever car it was, and she'd sit in there, and she had hit the steering wheel and screaming and hollering. By the time the police could get there, she had done drove off. That's one incident that started all this. Next one, she takes my granddaughter into her trailer and cuts her hair without my knowledge. Nobody told her to cut her hair. She had no reason to do that. Then she had called the police and said, I bit my granddaughter. Okay, I was biting my granddaughter. That's what they had told me. And I'm beating my kids in there. I don't whip my kids. That's my problem. Maybe I should whip them, but I don't.
I would say that that's not a good idea. Why did you cut her granddaughter's hair?
Actually, she had cut her granddaughter's hair, and it was, extreme.
Why did you cut her granddaughter's hair?
Because her granddaughter was crying to me about how she felt that it was extremely uneven, and all I did was even it up. Could hardly tell, except it didn't look
Did you ask
choppy.
her to even out your hair?
Yes.
No.
Well, how come you let her cut your hair?
I couldn't say no because I was just in the mirror. She was just fixing it up for me, I guess.
Okay. Not a big deal.
Cody's afraid.
You're not supposed to touch somebody else's child's hair, change their appearance.
Cody's afraid of her grandmother and has asked me 3 times to adopt her. And unfortunately, her grandmother has convinced her to lie about this today, which is, I'm sad about that.
I wouldn't be sad. I think she's a very nice young lady.
Yes, she
Thank
is.
you, Your Honor.
Now, let's go to May 11th.
Okay, like I said, I put a fence up to keep the baby in. While I was going around the fence, I went outside because I have about this much section in front of my yard that has grass there. So I go around there and I start weed eating. Well, these things that she had planted a couple months prior to that, they was going everywhere into my yard where the baby was picking them out. So I picked them and started picking them out. Well, I'm down like this on the ground and I'm throwing them this way, not realizing it's going over on the driveway in front of her trailer, excuse me, And so I had every intention of picking them up and taking them, after I got through. She comes around her trailer and she said, "You don't throw them on my property." I said, "Rhonda, just get away from me." "Oh, you want to fight, huh?" And all of a sudden she hits me, which I have pictures to show the swelling of my jaw. While I'm down, I get up and then I'm not going to lie, I swung at her, but she kept doing this to me, okay? And that's fine. So I took the weed eater and I pushed it in her.
So you hit her with the weed whacker?
I didn't hit her. I kept trying to keep her away from me. And then all of a sudden, I have a scratch here. I got pictures of that where she jerked as hard as she could, and then she just slung it and hit me on my side. I have pictures also on that also. So that's when I go into the trailer. My neighbors come running, and I went inside, and they all came inside, and that's when the police came. I didn't call them. I didn't have to. There was other people that called them.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a witness too, Your Honor.
Who was that? Your boyfriend?
No. He
Yes.
was the neighbor. No.
She's been seeing him.
No, I have not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rhonda Lynn claims former neighbor Linda Blaney had her falsely arrested for assault. Linda is countersuing for pain and suffering from the alleged attack.
Okay, Cody, you want to stand up next to your grandmother? Did you see any of these events from the beginning or from the end?
The only scene I seen was the one with the weed whacker on May 11th.
Well, tell me what you saw only, not what anybody told you, okay?
I was inside with my baby cousin, and we was watching TV. Then I heard a lot of commotion with Rhonda and my grandmother. And then I walked outside to see, and they were both fighting. And then my grandma did push the weed whacker, and she's like, Rhonda was like...
Push the weed whacker in her stomach?
Yeah, not eventually, like right here. Just
Okay.
like get her away from her. And then she's like, did you see that, Cody? She hit me. I was like, don't hit my grandma. So I went inside to call 911. And the police got here, and they started taking pictures of my grandmother.
Okay, now I'll see your photographs, Miss Blaney.
This one's on my wrist, my ribs, right here. And this is the picture of my yard where it all happened. Right here, both of these.
I also have photographs and all of that too for you.
And I also have the police report and more documents of her record that was pulled.
Okay, you have pictures of your injuries?
Yes,
Penny?
ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
There you go.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
There is an open case against her now for hitting another lady in a wheelchair. I have the report here from the police department.
Listen to me. I think you both behaved very badly that day.
I agree.
I think that you both behaved like children, not like grown-ups. I think that when you started pulling out the stuff and throwing it on her driveway...
It wasn't on her driveway. It was in the street, Your Honor.
Well, you told me it was in her driveway. You were
Well,
taking out
it's in the street in front of her trailer. She thinks she owns the driveway right there.
I think... Listen to me. Miss Blaney, you told me two things. You told me you took it out, but you didn't realize you were throwing it in front of her driveway.
Right.
And then you said to me, but I was going to pick it up.
Right.
So if you didn't realize what you were doing, why would you think I'm going to pick it up?
Because the fact when I do my yard, it always goes out into... The way the trailer park is, Your Honor, you come
Miss
into a...
Blaney, either you didn't know you were doing the wrong thing, or you knew you were doing the wrong thing, and you tended to clean up after yourself later.
My whole yard needed to be cleaned up because I had the weed whacked all in front, if you look at the pictures.
Listen to me.
Okay.
I think that you both behaved badly that day.
I have a witness too, Your Honor.
Who was that? Your boyfriend?
No. He
Yes.
was the neighbor. No.
She's been seeing him.
No, I have not. I have a boyfriend.
Listen, you don't want me to dismiss your case,
No.
do you?
No, Your Honor.
I've already warned you once.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
He lives across the driveway, and he and his girlfriend were on the porch and watching me weed and all that.
Tell me your name.
Aaron Huckel.
Mr. Huckel, you remember May 11th, 2005?
I do.
What time of the day was this?
It was evening time.
What were you doing on the porch?
I was talking with my former girlfriend. We were discussing our day.
And how do you know Miss Lynn?
She lives across from me.
Still does.
Still does.
So tell me what you observed on May 11th.
Just heard them arguing. And when I looked up, I seen that she had hit her with the weed eater, and then she took it back and hit her back with the weed eater, and she grabbed her side and ran inside. And then the police came, and then they started to take Rhonda away. And then my former girlfriend thought that wasn't right because she thought that Linda
I don't
provoked
tell me
it.
what your former girlfriend thought or what your former girlfriend said.
Okay.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
You didn't speak to the police?
They didn't want to talk to us. They
You
said
didn't call the district attorney? You didn't do anything?
no. Didn't call the district attorney, but somebody called us and gave my former girlfriend and I both a phone interview.
So you did speak to someone eventually?
Yes. Yes.
And you told them that you saw Miss Blaney hit Miss Lynn with the weed whacker?
Yes.
And then you saw Miss Lynn take the weed whacker and hit Miss Blaney with the weed whacker?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the only issue that I have, Miss Lynn...
Yes, ma'am.
...is who hit who first?
I have the investigators' report of different witnesses that saw, and they all have the same story, which is...
Well, I'd like to see the reports. Those police reports?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see
I have
them.
a police report also, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them.
Here's all that. And there's photos in there for her.
I also have the reports, police reports on her of her record of assaulting other people.
Not interested.
Right.
Did you speak to the district attorney, Miss Blaney?
Yes, I did. They kept postponing the case, and it kept going and postponing. I told him, I said, I'd rather just put this behind me. I said, I don't even want to do this anymore. I said, I want to find me a place to move to. I said, I'm just tired. I just want to leave me alone. So I'd rather just leave it alone and let's go on with it, is what I told the DA.
The truth is that she had no evidence.
Oh, that's not true at all, Miss Lynn. That's not true at all.
Well, according to
That's
the
not
lawyers.
true at all.
Right.
Here's the first statement by an Aaron Huckel. That's you.
Yes.
You said to the police, you indicated that words were exchanged between the two women. You couldn't hear it, and at one point, Blaney appeared to attack Lynn, swinging her fist toward Lynn. You didn't tell me that, sir.
That's because I don't remember specifically at the moment, so that's why I didn't say it.
Well, you said that to the police, but you didn't say that to me.
Correct.
Okay. And what's your girlfriend's name? Your ex-girlfriend?
Erica.
Well, Erica says clearly that you hit her first.
Well, see, I was down on my knees, Your Honor, and they didn't see that because my car was right there. And then when I stood up...
Who's Rose?
She was another neighbor.
I fired her husband I used to be apartment manager. I fired her husband, and that's the
not her
reason why
husband.
they done this, because they wasn't even nowhere around when this happened.
Yes, they were.
Your Honor, right now they're against Rhonda because Rhonda started on them also. That's why they're not here. She started to fight with this woman here.
Listen to me. I want you to be quiet.
Okay.
One thing I don't understand, Miss Lynn.
Yes, ma'am?
When you saw Miss Blaney outside, why did you go outside?
I was actually outside first. I'd been out there weeding for about an hour.
Well, you weren't both weeding in the same
No,
exact...
she came...
Shh. You can sit down now. You weren't both weeding in the same exact spot, Miss Lynn.
No.
So there came a point when you went over to where Miss Blaney was weeding. There's no question about that.
Actually, I was on my side weeding in front of the fence. Well, the fence was right here. I was right there. And she came out, and she was literally like 3 feet from me. And so I just stopped, and I watched, and then that's when it happened. And the fight actually happened in front of my place, not in front of hers. I'd like to point out, too, that I am a minister.
Of what?
Internet.
Of...
No.
Your counterclaim is dismissed, Miss Blaney. Do you understand?
Yes.
I warned you 3 times. Third time's a charm. You get it?
Yes.
Because there is no question in my mind that you hit her first with the weed whacker. I don't know whether she hit you first in the face, but there's no question in my mind that you hit her first with a dangerous instrument. And she wrestled it away from you and hit you back. So when I say that you both behaved badly, you both behaved badly. So I have absolutely no compunctions dismissing your counterclaim. You get it?
Yes.
Because you can't control yourself. And quite frankly, Miss Lynn, I'm not so sure that you didn't hit her first.
I swear
Not
to God,
sure.
I did not.
Not sure, because if you had had bad feelings against this lady, and clearly you did, you had called the police on her 2 days before. I don't know if it's the first time or not. I don't know if the incident that she refers to with regard to the car and the truck.
None of that happened.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
It's true.
And I'm certainly not so sure about this minister business. So I'm going to ask you again. You're a minister of what?
I marry, bury, baptize, but all I've actually done is marry.
Do you have a congregation?
Actually, no. I'm independent.
What divinity school did you graduate from?
Universal Life Church, Church of Divine Man, and Berkeley Psychic Institute.
Where are they located?
Sacramento.
Did you ever attend school there?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
About 5 years.
Are you telling me you were a full-time student in a divinity school in Sacramento for 5 years, or are you pulling my leg?
Not full-time. It was part-time.
How part?
Evenings and weekends.
5 evenings a week and weekends? 1 evening a month? No. 2 evenings a year? 1 weekend seminar? Very easy for me to find out.
A minimum of 3 nights a week.
For 5 years?
Well, after I became
You know
a
that
minister,
I don't believe a word you're telling me?
I'm telling the truth.
No. First of all, I never heard of any of these ministries. That doesn't mean that they don't exist, but it's not like the First Congregational Church.
There's
Baptist
a copy
Church.
of my credentials at the back of that. Just, all right.
Miss Lynn.
Yes, ma'am?
Let's get it together, madam. I don't believe you. I think that you and Ms. Blaney acted badly on May 11th. I don't think it requires a lawsuit. I have already dismissed her counterclaim because I'm telling you that I think she behaved badly and she was the first one to hit you with a dangerous instrument. And I'm not convinced that you did not hit her first. We're annoyed that she was taking these weeds and throwing them on your property and socked her first. She has pictures of her jaw, which appears to be black and blue. Black and blue jaw doesn't come from the weed whacker where you hit her in the knee. So I feel real comfortable in saying I don't believe that either one of you did the right thing on May 11th, 2005. The cases are dismissed, that's all.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
I'm very upset that the judge didn't believe me.
She lied through the whole thing.
Because I'm telling the truth.
Those are fake tears. Fake tears is all they are.
Linda Blaney is a liar.
Watch out, Rhonda's crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Aldoff versus Witt. Step forward.
Janet Aldoff is suing the father of her son's schoolmate, Mark Witt, for the cost to fix her boy's saxophone. Janet claims Mark's son, 13-year-old Brian, smashed it on the ground.
Ms. Aldoff, it is your claim that the defendant's son, this little boy right over here, is responsible for breaking your son's saxophone at school. Mr. Witt's son says that your son started the problem. He was first bullying him, and then he took property from him, a comic book, and threw it to the ground, which caused him to take a bag containing the saxophone and throwing it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you all have a seat? Tell me your first name.
Daniel.
Brian.
How old are you, Daniel?
13.
How old are you, Brian?
12.
Stand up by on your own 2 feet and put your hands down at your sides. Don't lean on the table. Daniel, in the past 3 years, how many times has your mother had to come to school because you've had disciplinary problems?
None, ma'am.
Brian, in the last 3 years, how many times have your parents come to school because of disciplinary problems?
3.
How do you think I knew that? You think I'm psychic?
I know you're not, ma'am.
But I knew that.
Yes.
I think I knew. He's cute. He's trouble. Gotta look at his face. How many children do you have, sir?
2, ma'am.
I got a few more. I know the face. I know the look. It's got attitude, which is a good thing, but it's got to be channeled. That's what I'm here to do, Brian.
Yes,
channel your attitude.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You get over with this kind of stuff with your father? You don't get over it with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 13-year-old Danny Adolph says classmate Brian Witt broke his saxophone on purpose. Brian claims Danny and his friends were making fun of him.
All right. Tell me, when did this happen in school?
Before school started.
Tell me what happened, please, and keep your voice up.
Yes, ma'am. We were standing outside.
Who's we?
Me, Brian, and 2 other boys.
Friends of all of yours?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, and we were all standing around my saxophone, and I made a comment, and I said, why are we all standing around my saxophone? Are we going to praise it? And we all started laughing. And one of the other boys started making these unfunny jokes, and Brian picked up my saxophone and threw it against the ground.
Now, was the saxophone in a bag?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Brian say anything to you when he did that?
He said, oops, in a sarcastic tone and started laughing.
You had to use the saxophone subsequently that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
I tried to play, and only 3 of the notes I could play would come out.
Did you have it fixed?
No, ma'am.
So it's still broken?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Brian. Remembering that I know everything.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me your version of what happened on March 14th.
We had just arrived at school, and I went over to Danny and our friends, and he started making comments about me.
Who started?
Danny or one of his friends.
So either Daniel or one of his friends started making comments about you. Like what?
They had made fun of... I don't really remember.
So what happened next?
I had gotten mad, and He threatened to throw my book.
Who threatened to throw your book?
Danny.
What did he say to you?
He had said something about my mom or a family member.
He did or his friend?
He did, I believe.
You get over with this kind of stuff with your father? You don't get over it with me. Where was your book?
It was beside my book bag on the ground.
On the book bag. And this is a story you told your father?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I had gotten really mad and I picked up his saxophone bag. I didn't even know there was one in it.
What did you think was in it? His lunch? Huh? What did you think was in the bag that contained that big instrument? What did you think it was?
Gym clothes or books.
Go ahead.
I had picked it up and slung it up against the wall.
All right. Mr. Witt, would you stand up? How much did you pay for the saxophone in the pawn shop, Miss Adolph?
It was around $300.
Did you get an estimate on fixing it?
Yes, I have an estimate, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Witt, you want to say anything to me?
Yes, ma'am. I don't think my son was right on what he did.
Perfect. It's what I like to hear. Okay. And you also don't think that he told me the truth, do you? And he didn't tell you the truth either, because I read your answer, I read his statement, and nowhere was the word "I believe" in there. Somebody said something to me, it was Danny or one of his friends. Well, who said something about your family? Him, you sure? No, it could have been somebody else. Did he tell that to you? What did he tell you when he came home? But the explanation that he gave you was that this young boy was teasing him. He was bullying him because he's taller than he is. And that's what started this. That's what he told you, because that's what you wrote.
And I didn't pay any attention to that.
Oh, great. Mr. Witt, perfect. Don't pay any attention to it, because you know why? Because it's not true.
It didn't matter. It wouldn't be a good excuse to break somebody's things anyway.
I know, but the most important thing is this young man thinks that he can get over. And that's a real problem, because he's 12. And if he thinks that he can get over when he's 12, and you had to go to school at least 3 times with him for disciplinary problems, after the first time it would have been too many. So you look like a very nice man, and you look like the kind of man who accepts responsibility. And you said even if he was picking on him and threw his comic book to the ground, it was no excuse for breaking his instrument. All perfect, responsible, reasonable things. The only thing is you've got to infuse that to him, because he's getting too old. He can't get away with cute anymore. You understand me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Look at me. You have brothers and sisters at home?
1 sister.
How old?
9.
So you're the example?
Yes, ma'am.
And your father works?
He's retired military.
Your mother works?
Yes.
So your father worked his whole life, your mother works, they provide for you, they provide a home for you, they put food on the table, they take care of you. You know what your responsibility is?
School.
Your responsibility is to grow up to be a nice human being.
Yes, ma'am.
And a responsible human being, and a trustworthy human being, and a human being that tells the truth all the time. Mr. Witt, your defense is, according to your son, he was being bullied, which we both know is not true, and B, that they're asking for too much for the saxophone.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to hear the second part, that they're asking too much for the repair of the saxophone.
Well, I got a copy of the estimate.
I'd like to see a copy of the estimate. It's exactly what I have.
Yes, ma'am. I believe some of the items on there are maintenance problems that have nothing to do with
Major belly and body damage, $120. Bent keys and rods, $150. Repair part, $44. What's out of line to you? Absolutely nothing. So, okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $351.22. Remember what I said to you, sir? If you listen to any part of what I said to you, believe me, your life will be much happier. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy.
I think they both learned something today.
That he shouldn't touch other people's property.
It's someone else's property and you can't touch it.
I view it as they get a new instrument.
He was making it up to try to get out of paying for it.
My life's gonna change.
58, Smith versus Crosley. All parties, please step forward.
Justin Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, for an unpaid loan.
Miss Crosley, I'm going to start with you. You and Mr. Smith were in a romantic relationship for a period of time.
Yes.
From when to when?
I want to say it was about a year before my son was born. My son was born February 11th, 2019, and our relationship ended about 4 or 5 months after he was born.
And after you separated, according to what I read, you sort of remained friends.
Yes.
Great. You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent. And this was after you had already been separated for a long period of time. And at some point, what I'm piecing together is you discussed your financial circumstances with Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And one of your options was to seek protection in bankruptcy.
Correct.
And Mr. Smith thought that that was a bad idea.
Yes.
So he suggested that you take out a loan, consolidate all this debt, which was on, I assume, on credit cards with very high interest. And since he had credit, he would take out the loan and you would pay that loan off, which was manageable every month. Is that generally what this is about? Yes.
His behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw.
I'm still not understanding.
Justin Smith claims his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, owes for an unpaid loan.
Mr. Smith did take out that loan, month and year.
March of 2022, this year.
What were the payments each month, starting in March or April, principal and interest?
He had told me that it was $500.
Told you they were $500. He took out that loan, and am I correct, Ms. Crosley, that you paid off your credit card debt?
Yes.
And you paid off your debt with the loan that he took out?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, create a situation where the money, because you were employed, would come out directly from your bank account to go to pay off the loan to his bank account.
Yes.
And you did that in what month?
That was started, I believe, at the end of April or beginning of May.
And how many such payments did you make?
Biweekly payments, I believe I made about 6.
Thereby acknowledging that this was a loan. At some point, you stopped making the payments. What month did you stop making the payments?
In July of this year.
Why?
So I had started seeing my current boyfriend.
This is not a social show. Just tell me why.
So I had to take a day off of work to file for an order of protection.
Why did you have to take a day off from work to file for an order of protection?
Because I was advised to by a police officer I spoke to.
Okay. And I assume against him?
Yes.
Okay. Give me the incident.
Okay. So in July, when I started seeing my current boyfriend, Justin had expressed that he wanted us to get back together, and I had told him no, that was not going to happen. And then his behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw. And then there was an incident on July 19th where I had allowed his mother to take my son to a play, and she was supposed to drop him off back to me. And instead of dropping him back off to me, she had dropped him off with his father at his work. And then I got a call from Justin yelling, saying, "Where are you? What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way back home. Your mom's supposed to drop off Braden." He's like, "I have Braden. I'll meet you at your house." So I said, okay. We got to outside my house, and then he pulled up next to me and then started screaming out of the car, like, "Where were you? What were you doing?" I was like, "I was spending time with Anthony, my boyfriend." And he's like, "I'm taking Braden. I'm not going to give him back to you." And my son's crying in the back seat. And I said, "No, you give him back to me. It is my day to have him." And he drove away. He later called me and said I could meet them at Dairy Queen. So I met them there. I got out of the car. I went up to my son. And as I was getting him in the car, Justin had walked up to my car and started yelling and swearing at me. And as me and my son started driving off, he threw a milkshake at my car, which scared me and my son very much.
Okay, good. And you filed for an order of protection. You had a trial on the order of protection, yes. And the judge dismissed your order of protection.
Yes.
After the trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
So when I had lost my job.
You lost your job when?
The next day. The incident happened on the 19th. I had to take the 20th off to file for the order of protection. The 21st, I was let go.
Oh, that had nothing to do with you being let go. Nothing. I just want to know why you stopped paying on the loan. You stopped paying on the loan because you lost your job? Are you working now?
Yes, I just started working.
Well, did you start paying him back?
No. So also in July, when all these incidents happened, Justin had stopped paying for daycare, which was our agreed upon child support payment. We don't have a court order for child support, but he had been paying all of daycare. I cover all of his other finances.
So that was an agreement that you had, that he would pay for daycare?
Yes.
Okay. And he stopped paying in July?
Yes, he started only paying half of daycare.
Okay, so let's go back. He started paying for half.
Yes.
How much was he supposed to pay per month?
$560 was the full amount of daycare each month.
Okay, and he had been paying that. In July, he cut it down to?
To $270, I believe.
80.
Okay, so he wasn't completely not paying. He was paying part of it.
Correct.
Tell me why you cut the payments in half, because you have a counterclaim for that.
Yeah. So in July, we started a custody case for full custody of our son.
You're talking in July. Who started the custody case?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you retain a lawyer?
I did.
Is that case still ongoing?
It is.
Well, then I'm not entertaining anything about the daycare because you have that case in family court. The court there will make a determination as far as future child support and whether or not this daycare should have been paid. So you have no reason for not paying the loan.
I was planning on filing bankruptcy.
Okay, but you didn't. You didn't file for bankruptcy. You did the smart thing. How much is left on the loan?
It's in excess of $12,000 or $11,000.
What interest rate is on that loan, by the way?
36%, I believe. Current balance as of November 30th, $12,631.
How is a 30% loan better than her credit cards?
She had some loans in excess of 800%.
From whom?
Or over 500%. These were online lenders.
Oh, wow. Okay, you have a counterclaim. Harassment, daycare costs is out. Lost wages because you say you had to take a day off to file a protective order and you were fired? Nonsense. Harassment, let's hear it. And don't go back to anything that you told the judge during the hearing that you had where he dismissed your application for an order of protection.
Okay, well, the order of protection.
Okay,
that was.
They're just shh. Well, if that's the testimony, it's already been adjudicated. A judge using the same measure of proof that I would use dismissed your case, so I'm not relitigating that case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I believe he was angry that I started a relationship with somebody.
I think the restraining order was part of her defense as to why she didn't want to pay me back anymore.
I was ready to file bankruptcy, and he had offered to take it out for me.
You know, at the end of the day, the loan is still agreed upon and still needs to be repaid.
I think that that's a good lesson, that you can't use the court systems and restraining orders to get out of a loan that you have really no excuse for not paying except for you lost your job. And I just think it's tricky. I think that a lot of defendants come in here and think that they can just say, I didn't have the money and so I don't have to pay it. But that's not the case.
What's most interesting to me is these 800% or 500% or 100% interest-bearing loans.
I know, it's something.
Where did that come from?
It's something I've seen recently in the past couple of years. It seems like every online shopping venue now has some form of loan payment or loan offering or sign up for our loan program. And I'd never seen that before. And if you don't read the fine print, you could get stuck in just like the
Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff?
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
Okay. And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home.
What kind of work?
For a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point.
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
Maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but.
Give me the gist of it.
Let me borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living?
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe 2 every.
No, altogether.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't say?
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have
there.
a record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
Said, let me borrow some money.
Right. Okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me. Okay, no, tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose. Anybody who came could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. But if you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant.
Valenzuela is suing his former friend, Darian Jenkins, for unpaid loans and damages from an assault.
So every time you gave him money...
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay. Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever?
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. It became physical?
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest, you claim, based on his statement to the police that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding, and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said, it doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did, because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
I have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He was being nice.
Sometimes he offered.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 27-27. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're going to pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming. Yeah, he was screaming. Just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. That thing comes good out of it, so.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say, you know, the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
made it easy.
It's true. Mm-hmm. And because when people say I gave him cash, and
even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands or.
Case 2135, Coleman versus Washington. All parties, please step forward.
Tawana Coleman is suing caretaker Jessica Washington for stolen money, travel costs, and elder abuse.
Miss Coleman, how old is your mother?
90.
Do you live with her?
I do.
How long have you been living with her?
3 years.
You're her primary caretaker?
Yes, ma'am.
She suffers from?
Dementia.
For how long?
I identified it in December of 2019. And I just stayed from that point on, sleeping on her couch.
At some point, you had to go out of town for a period of time.
Yes.
You hired the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get to her?
My cousin Andrea was friends with her, and she said that she would be a great candidate.
Did you interview her?
I spoke with her later on. She came by the house, and...
What date did you first speak to her?
Maybe about a day or two before I left.
And on what date did you leave?
The 11th of August.
How long were you going to be away for?
About 7 days.
And tell me, Miss Washington, are you employed now?
Yes, I am.
By whom?
Well, I do self-employment, and I also have my own little business on the side as well, you know, camera for elderly people.
Okay. have any special training for the care of the elderly?
I got my AED and my CPR. No, not really. Because basically I've been just dealing with family members.
For how long?
I'm going to say at least like 5 years.
And you had no special training for the care of the elderly? Okay, and did you explain that to the plaintiff?
She knew that.
Don't tell me what she knew. I didn't ask you what she knew.
Kawana Coleman claims caretaker Jessica Washington stole money from her mother, who suffers from dementia.
Okay. On what day were you supposed to report to take care of her mother?
August 11th.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Who was there?
It was Miss Coleman and her mother.
And the arrangement that you made with her was for 7 days, and you would be living with her mother?
For 7 days.
And what was she to pay you for the 7 days?
We never discussed a payment.
Well, this is what you were doing for a living, and you had jobs for the last 5 years. Is not an answer. Yes is the answer. And when you work for other people who you'll tell me about, what did you charge them?
I didn't really charge them anything. That's why I'm saying me and her never discussed a price, because she didn't know if I was going to charge her or not. Because I could have watched her mother for nothing, just because. That's family.
Okay. Well, this is what the case is about. You watched her mother for 1 day, and then you left. And according to her, her mother fell. When you left, after the 1 day, she had left $400, and you took the $400. That's what she says when you left. Your answer is that you earned that $400 in the 1 day. That's why you took it. You have a counterclaim because she has said to someone that what you did amounted to elder abuse. Now, you started on the 11th. Tell me when you left.
The date that I left was August 12th at 4:30 in the morning because I was put out.
Who put you out?
Her cousin Andrea, which is my godmother, because I called her to help me pick her mother up off the floor, which her cousin told me to leave.
No. You can't tell me what anybody else told you. Prior to 4:30 on the 12th, did Miss Coleman's mother suffer a fall?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And where did she fall?
She fell on the floor. She was sitting at the table where I was sitting at as well, too. I got up to use the bathroom.
At 4:30 in the morning?
We was up all night.
Could you tell me why?
Because she was waiting for her daughter to come back, because before her daughter left out the house, being as though that the lady has dementia and Alzheimer's, they think about the future, the past, and the present. She's thinking that her daughter is coming back because her daughter said, "I will be right back." So that's why she sat up all night long. I was trying to put her to bed. She didn't want to go to bed, so I called.
Okay, so you were there from what time in the morning on the 11th?
I got there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 11th.
So you were there for a little less than 12 hours, right? You came at 5 o'clock in the afternoon,
on
and
the
at
11th.
4:30, and at 4:30 in the morning, you left.
I didn't actually leave. I was told to leave.
But you left.
Yeah, and I didn't want to.
I don't care whether you wanted to or not. It's not particularly relevant whether you wanted to or not. I understand what happened. You left, and when you left, you took the $400 that you found.
Because the mother told me to.
You mean the mother with dementia and Alzheimer's?
Yes, her mother told me to.
Just a second. You mean the mother with dementia and Alzheimer's who you stayed up with 4:30 in the morning, told you to take the $400? Okay. Now, you're suing her for a lot more than the $400 because you said you had to come home from your travel. She's not responsible for that. She has to return the $400 to you. You told me 2 minutes ago, Miss Washington, that you never discussed fee.
We did.
Because this is not a question and answer. You didn't even know whether you were going to charge her anything because as far as you were concerned, it's family. Is not an answer. And you listened to the woman that you had been hired to care for because she has dementia and Alzheimer's and had fallen, and she said to you, take this $400, it's yours. What if she told you to take a piece of her jewelry? Would you have taken that?
No.
Yeah. You would have taken it because she gave it to you.
Because I'm not no thief. I wouldn't.
No, that's not what I'm telling you. You say that you took this $400 because this woman who can't make a judgment told you to take it. What if she said to you, I want you to have my pearls? Why not?
I'm not taking no jury because I have my own. I don't need her jury.
Okay, that's ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. I'll take a look at the instance that you have on your counterclaim for slander when she says that you are guilty of elder abuse. What do you have to show me?
It's in a court order.
What do you mean it was in a court order?
It is. She went and filed elder's abuse on me plus the traveling expenses too. I have that court order.
Just a second. Is that what you're telling me? In her case against you for the $400 and for any other travel expenses, which I'm dismissing, that part of her claim, She said you were guilty of elder abuse. That's protected. Okay, your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
I think the judge did a great job. I assume that she would be able to deal with my mother. It's difficult being a caregiver, and we as people need to do much more to protect our elderly.
We've seen a couple of these cases, and it's so unfortunate to see the elderly, and whether they're ill or sick or mentally not capable of caring for themselves anymore, zero training that some of these people have to really care for them. And it's scary. We've seen it too many times. And $400 on the counter to someone to just take it for 12 hours worth of work.
You know, it's always struck me as a shame that society has and the government has created situations where you need licenses to do certain things. You need a license to tweeze someone's eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a cosmetologist. You have to have a license. You have to go to school. You have to pass an exam. You need a license to have a dog. But the most vulnerable people in the population, those people who, as she said, she didn't know whether her daughter was coming back or not coming back. She said she'd be right back, so she was waiting up for her. That vulnerable person, when it worked to the defendant's advantage, said, well, she was perfectly capable of saying to me,
take the money.
Take the money.
Yeah.
Terrible. Really frightening.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.